This episode of the Game Over Greggy Show is brought to you by Blue Apron. Blue Apron's mission is to make incredible home cooking accessible to everyone. That's right, even you, Amy Gilroy. Blue Apron achieves this by supporting a more sustainable food system, setting the highest standards for ingredients, and building a community of home chefs. Blue Apron has established partnerships with over 150 local farms, fisheries, and ranchers across the United States. As a result, seafood is sourced sustainably under standards developed in partnership with the Monterey Bay Aquarium Seafood Watch. Monterey Bay is here in California. I've been there. Can you believe it, Kevin? That's awesome. Beef is raised humanely. Chickens are free range. Pork is raised naturally. Regenerative farming practices are used for produce. So let's talk a little bit about some of the food you're going to get, all right? You get spinach. This is in July, by the way. If you're hearing this after July, I'm sure the menu's awesome. It's not this anymore. Spinach and basil pesto gnocchi with summer squash, green beans, and fresh mozzarella. Spiced pork tacos with avocado, pickled onion, and a Lodi-style corn. Summer vegetable pizza with garlic, lemon, broccolini. And you know we love broccolini. For less than $10 a meal, Blue Aprons delivers seasonable recipes along with pre-portioned ingredients to make delicious home-cooked meals. You can get it right now by checking out this week's menu and doing everything else. And getting your first 3 meals free with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/Greggy. You will love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron, so don't wait. That's blueapron.com/Greggy. Blue Apron, a better way to cook. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Game Over Greggy Show. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside the producer/seducer, Nick Scarpino.
Look at him over there with the laptop. He's all producing.
He's all set. Hot. Yeah, he's. This is your second topic in a row where you have a laptop and you got a whole bunch of stuff to do. I'm very excited to get into it.
Important topics.
I know. I also like that you're wearing the Beat Cop shirt.
Thank you.
Supporting our friends who made
my second favorite shirt now.
Is it really? What's? It's not a Heather Gray one, which is an interesting one.
No, it's not.
Why does this one stand out to you? What does this one do?
I just like the way it fits. I like the way it fits. It's shapely. It gives me a little bit more, like we talked about a couple of podcasts ago. It gives me a little bit more space in the guttural region.
Sure.
And a little less space in the arm region, thus making my biceps look a tinge bigger.
Show me the ice cream scoops.
Look a little smaller.
There they are.
They're really small. I haven't been to the gym in like 2 weeks. But I like it. It would be my favorite shirt, but it gets a little bit of a markdown for the fabric itself. Now I want you to feel this fabric.
Oh, no, no.
It's
stiff.
It's making you sweat a little bit. It's like wearing a cardboard shirt.
Yeah,
Colin,
but you like the way it looks.
That's a very expensive mic. Don't dip it in the water, please.
Over here. Pride of Long Island, Colin Moriarty.
Good to be here with you today.
It's good to be here with you today as well. If you're listening to MP3 and can't hear him, Colin's doing this to piss Kevin off. Because Kevin always yells at him to talk into his microphone. So now he's going to talk on the bass. Don't bite it. Don't do it.
That's mine.
And over there, looking incredibly good today, the pure one.
Thank you.
Tim Gettys.
What team are you guys?
Shut up.
You haven't got level 5 yet?
No, because it crashes. Why?
You just got to push through the crashes, Greg.
No, I'm good. Are you team red or burgundy?
No, fuck. Am I team fucking red? Do I look like one of them Valor sons of a bitches? Nah, Greg. Mystic, bro.
Is that blue? Oh, blue's your favorite color, I know. Yeah. Okay.
Duh. Can you imagine me being anything but blue? To be
I thought you were going somewhere with your burgundy outfit, and that's why.
Yeah, no. I would have totally went with the Zapdos, because Zapdos is superior to the rest of them, but blue all the way. I can't betray my blue brethren. Kevin joined my team.
Of course he did. Kevin would drink cyanide or whatever. You do anything you want.
Yeah, it was good.
No, that's not true. I wouldn't drink cyanide.
Yeah.
You drink the hemlock.
We went out catching Pokemon last
night. Battery
night.
acid is what I was thinking. I don't know.
It was like midnight. We're just running down the street.
We're also trying to look for McDonald's was still open.
They were closed.
McDonald's.
Yeah, he also has a problem saying Pokemon for some reason.
Say Pokemon.
I don't know what he's talking about.
He keeps adding these Pokemans, but he's not doing it to be funny.
That's just funny.
But he's not doing it to be funny.
Yeah.
He's just like, what? The Pokemon got away. I'm like, what are you saying, Kevin? Pokemon. Stop. Well, what are you, Nick?
I'm chartreuse.
If you didn't know, this is the Game Over Greggy Show. Each and every week, 4, sometimes 5 best friends gather on this table. Each bring a random topic of discussion for your amusement. If you like that, head over to patreon.com/kindafunny, where you get each and every episode early. That's right, we posted there first. And a whole bunch of exclusives and perks and goodies. If You don't have any bucks to toss our way. It's no big deal. Head over to youtube.com/kindafunny where we put the show topic by topic, day by day until it's all up on the following Friday. Nick.
Yes, sir.
What's your topic?
I've got another serious topic coming down the pike. Yesterday, I think it was yesterday, Jennifer Aniston wrote a op-ed in the Huffington Post about body shaming. She's fed up with the idea that people keep questioning whether or not she's pregnant, which is not necessarily the focus of it, but plays into this. So I thought I'd read this a little bit to you guys, and then I wanted to also read Piers Morgan's retort to this, because I think they're both very fascinating perspectives on the issue. And this is something that that comes up all the time, right? You hear all the time about, specifically for women. And I thought, what better topic for white quasi-heterosexual males?
We've been knocking it out of the park recently. With
So
let's talk about something that none of us have direct experience with, but we got opinions on.
Right. I mean, I do feel this to some degree whenever I look at, like, because, I try to work out, and it's impossible for me to look ever like any of those magazine covers that I look at when I look at, like, GQ or I look at Men's Health. And
you see Hugh Jackman.
Fucking Mark Wahlberg, and he's gorgeous, or Hugh Jackman, or any of these guys. So
this is why I take my shirt off so much. A lot of people ask why I do it. I do it to reinforce what real men look like. #real men.
You look like probably 90% of America.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing. I'm not kidding at all. But I wanted to read you guys a little bit of this real quick and then get your perspectives on it, because I think it's a complex issue. Jennifer Aniston wrote, "For the record, I am not pregnant. What I am is fed up. I'm fed up with the sport-like scrutiny and body shaming that occurs daily under the guise of journalism and the First Amendment and celebrity news." Now, she's specifically talking, I should add, about tabloids. She's not talking about more reputable magazines. This is more like tabloid journalism.
So this is like National Enquirer,
things like that. Yeah.
What about People Magazine? Where are we putting People Magazine?
I don't know.
Time.
She doesn't
Where
go
does
in.
Time fall?
Time isn't in the conversation. No.
Not a tabloid.
Gotcha.
That I can think of. She goes on to say, "If I am some kind of symbol to some people out there, then clearly I am an example of the lens through which we as a society view our mothers, daughters, sisters, wives, female friends, and colleagues. The objectification and scrutiny we put women through is absurd and disturbing. The way I'm portrayed by the media is simply a reflection of how we see and portray women in general, measured against some warped standard of beauty. Sometimes cultural standards just need a different perspective so we can see them for what they really are. A collective acceptance, a subconscious agreement. We are in charge of our agreement. Little girls everywhere are absorbing our agreement, passive or otherwise. And it begins early. The message that girls are not pretty unless they're thin, incredibly thin, and they're not worthy of our attention unless they look like a supermodel or an actress on the cover of a magazine is something we're all willingly buying into. This conditioning is something girls then carry into womanhood. We use celebrity news, quote, in quotes, to perpetuate this dehumanizing view of women, focused solely on one's physical appearance, which tabloids turn into a sporting event of speculation. Is she pregnant? Is she eating too much? Has she let herself go? Is her marriage on the rocks because the camera detects some physical imperfection?" Later in the article, she concludes with, from years of experience, I've learned tabloid practices, however dangerous, will not change. However dangerous will not change, at least not anytime soon. What can change is our awareness and reaction to the toxic messages buried within these seemingly harmless stories, served up as truth and shaping our ideas of who we are. We get to decide how much we buy into what's being served up, and maybe someday the tabloids will force us to see the world through a different, more humanized lens because consumers have just stopped buying the bullshit. So that's a small slice of that. She goes on to talk more about that, and I encourage everyone, of course, to go read her article in the Huffington Post.
Where was it? Huffington Post?
Huffington Post.
I'm going on my phone right now to research something real quick. I just want everyone to know I'm not being rude.
So, of course, a lot of people came out on Twitter, and rightfully so, have supported her for this message, because I do think it's a positive message. Except for one person, Piers Morgan's, who, while he, and again, this is a much longer article than I'm just pulling quotes from, so please go on, Google this and go online. I found it on, what is this, on dailymail.com. .co.uk. I'm sure you can Google it real quick, and I'm sure it got picked up everywhere. He does agree with her to about 90% of the message. So I do want to set that up. He's not, and he says he has met her. She's very nice, and they have some sort of friendly relationship together. But his perspective is, while he agrees that tabloids are dangerous and how they go about getting their stuff is insidious, he does say there's another reason why the media objectify and scrutinize famous women, and why little girls get confused about beauty and body image. It's this. Female stars like Jennifer Aniston deliberately perpetuate the myth of, quote, perfection by posing for endless magazine covers, which have been airbrushed so much that in some cases the celebrity is virtually unrecognizable. He also has listed about, I think, 8 or 9 covers that Jennifer Aniston is where you can clearly see airbrushing happening. He writes a lot about this. I don't want to read the whole article, but I'm going to read a couple more things that he says. Once you put your body up for lucrative personal gain, I'm afraid you have to accept a level of scrutiny debate that comes with it. Though intimidatory, which I'm not sure is a word, or overly intrusive paparazzi behavior is never acceptable. But I do think that the least stars like Jennifer Aniston can do in return for the massive financial and career boost these fake covers bring them is to stop pretending it's everyone else's fault that impressionable young girls struggle with their own beauty and body image as a result of seeing perfect photos of Jennifer Aniston. He concludes with, if she really wants to make a difference to this ugly process, she can start by getting a tiny bit uglier herself and letting us see what she really looks like on a magazine cover. Then little girls she's so worried about can know exactly what they can aspire to be, what they're aspiring to be. So I think those kind of represent the polar opposites of the argument right there. And I wanted to hear your guys' thoughts on this because we are in the media, whether we like it or not. We do have a responsibility to our audience to try to be as truthful and as real as humanly possible, I think, with the exception of Kevin, who
lies to them all the time.
He's just like a mythical beast. He's like a creature.
Sure.
Like a minotaur. Or unitard.
The Hydra.
He's kind of like a unitard.
You know what I mean?
Kinda, yeah.
I was going to say centaur, but unitard came out and I just went with it.
Unitard, yep. The mythical creature, the unitard.
It feels like it's not the same old debate, but it seems like an argument that I feel like it's been happening forever and ever and ever. Hasn't it always been this way where people have done this? Like, I understand Jennifer Aniston's frustration. I understand Piers Morgan's point. It's another one of this whole thing of like, I think he makes a great point. Yeah, that like maybe maybe she shouldn't, but like it is a bit playing both sides of the field to go and do a Cosmo cover, to do the Rolling Stone cover, to do all these things, and then come out and be like, well, now let's talk about how they're focused on me if I'm pregnant or this, that, or the other.
I think an issue with that argument though is that that implies that it's Jennifer Aniston asking to be airbrushed and all of that. Where we've seen so many different people come out and be like, I don't want to be airbrushed, don't put this on the cover or whatever. But it's like, it does get kind of hard where it is the magazine doing that stuff. Like, you know what I mean? If a guest on our show were to come and be on our show and I use them in the thumbnail, I edit the thumbnail.
Right.
The level of vibrancy I put on it or saturation, which is all the way. They don't really have any say in that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't go to them and ask their opinion. I just kind of put it, and it's like, then it kind of creates the Streisand effect thing of if they were to be like, I don't want this, that becomes an issue. You know what I mean?
But I mean,
like
I think that would be the stand that needs to be made, right? If this is the tipping point, and female actresses, just females in general, are like, we no longer want to be objectified, we want to change the national conversation, then I think it would have to be that either I'm going to be in this Cosmo shoot, I'm going to go, be on Glamour magazine or whatever, and you're not allowed to airbrush it. It would have to be that policy.
And I think that, we've seen that a couple times with like Chloe Moretz, the hit girl. Mm-hmm. She
also the most famous Islanders fan in the world.
She came second most.
What about E?
She came out and she said that she's like, I don't want to be airbrushed at all or whatever. And I've seen it a couple other times too.
I don't pay much attention to it.
I'm sure Amy Schumer. That makes a lot of sense. But there's a lot of people that have come out and done that, and like I feel like there's been a nice progression in terms of how this whole situation's tackled and all of that. The other side of the argument though is I think that there is a place for objectification. I think that objectification is a part of this whole thing, and I think that they need to be allowed to be objectified. I think that like that's them being on covers and being sexy is not a bad thing. I don't think that it's either objectified or sending a good message. I think that there is a positivity to sex and to sexuality that they should be empowered to be able to be sexy and to be on covers of magazines and look perfect if they have attained what they believe is what others believe to be perfect or whatever it is, right? I think that his argument to me, it doesn't stand up in the sense that being perfect on a magazine cover and being scrutinized for looking pregnant or whatever, it's like those are two different things. Like there's let's celebrate is very different than let's tear down. And it's not just because if you're going to be celebrated, you need to be allowed to be tear down. I don't think so. I think that you could just celebrate and like don't be an asshole.
Well, just to clarify your earlier comment, I think I hear what you're saying, and I think you're right as far as we should. I don't think it's wrong to celebrate the body. I don't think it's wrong to celebrate someone's sexuality. Objectification is inherently a negative term. I don't think you meant to use that because objectification means you're actually boiling something down to an object and dehumanizing them, which I don't think you meant earlier.
Well, I mean, no, but
what he's saying is empowerment. Right,
empowerment of sexuality. I just don't want you to get thrown apart in the comments. People saying, "Oh, Tim thinks it's okay to objectify women," because you don't. You don't.
I mean, but I think it's. I
think it's okay to sexuality and seeing a beautiful woman and admiring beauty is okay, but you don't. I know you personally, and I don't think you would agree with this statement. You don't look at a woman and say that woman is an object just to be had sex with.
No.
And I think that's
but again, I think that the objectification thing, like, gets taken a little too far there, where I think it is okay to, that is the goal. Like, it is a sexual objectification. That is the point of this. It's not like I'm using this woman as an object. It's what I'm doing here, this photo shoot is that. It is to create a sexual object. And I think that is okay if that is the intended goal and what people are taking from it.
Yeah, I think it's complicated because I think they both make good points. Jennifer Aniston is a hypocrite in many ways with this, for sure. I looked at what I was doing on my phone before was because I knew Jennifer Aniston when we were growing up was a sex symbol. She was a fucking sex symbol. She was fucking
Stone
hot.
cover. Come on.
All right, in the 90s. So all I looked up was Jennifer Aniston model. There's a picture of her in GQ wearing nothing but a leather jacket. There's a picture of her laying on a bed with her ass out. There's a picture of her with a tie covering her boobs. There's a picture of her with a tie covering her boobs laying with two guys. There's a picture, that famous picture of her with just a sweater on, like sideways. There's a picture of her covering her boobs up with no clothes on at all. I'm like, really, Jennifer Aniston? Huh? Because it seems to me to be, there's nothing wrong with that at all. But then turning around and saying like, well, why are women held to this standard? I don't know, Jennifer Aniston. Why don't you ask yourself that when you were in your 20s and 30s, why women were held to that particular standard? It's because women like you were on magazine covers like that, and little girls and teenage girls and girls in their 20s saw that and wanted to replicate it. That's why. It's not like rocket science. So I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but Jennifer Aniston was part of the problem. And now that she's no longer a sex symbol, now that she's older, I still think Jennifer Aniston's hot, by the way. But like, now that she's no longer that or anymore, it's like, oh, now I want to have my cake and eat it too. Now I can't have the other side. I actually think that you do open yourself up to criticism like that. It's like us saying, and this is exactly like it is, by the way, and us saying, I said this about what happened in Ferguson. You can't say anything about it. You know, like I took this side and I am immune to your criticism now, you know, because I don't want to be criticized, even though I opened myself up to criticism by talking about Ferguson to begin with. Right. It's the same thing. And so I agree with Piers Morgan. Like, and I don't like Piers Morgan very much. I think he's like I think he says fucking whacked out shit about a lot of things, but he, broken clock's right twice a day. And, Piers Morgan is right about this. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I understood that's why I didn't need the clarification Nick was bringing up, although I think it's useful clarification for the audience, because I understand what you're saying. There's nothing wrong with a woman being naked in a magazine. There's nothing wrong with looking at a woman. A woman's body is a work of art to me. Like, and there's nothing wrong with enjoying that. And women look at a lot of men or other women or whatever as work of art as well, and that's totally fine. But Jennifer Aniston opened herself up to criticism because she was an airbrush beauty. She was naked on these magazine covers. She was a sex symbol, and she seemed to have no problem with it when she was on that end of it. When everyone was taking pictures of her and she looked hot, right? But like, right. So I'm not excusing. I think that's tabloid journalism. I think she's right in the sense that like this tabloid journalism, this entertainment journalism that says like everything's a story. She's coming out of Starbucks and this is what she's drinking, or she's like, walking around trying to have a day with her kids. Like, leave her the fuck alone. Like, I'm not saying like what she's saying in that respect is wrong. I don't think we need to criticize her, ask her if she's pregnant. Who fucking cares? But that is a different argument. She should be pointing those gun barrels at the people that buy and consume that shit, right? Which happen to be her fans. So like, this is a spread shot thing where it's like let some of the grape shot hit Piers Morgan, let some of the grape shot hit the magazines, let some of the grape shot hit herself, let some of the grape shot hit the tabloids, and let some of the grape shot hit the people that consume that shit as well. Because there would be no market for it if people didn't care. When I watch E! News, sometimes I sit there and I'm like, who gives a fuck about anything I'd pay to watch you watch
E! News. I would pay to watch you watching E! News just for like a half an hour.
So no one's. I don't necessarily believe in body shaming, but I also don't believe in like being able to take the high road after 20 years of exploiting that market. I think that's bullshit, and I think Piers Morgan's absolutely right. The person who should be writing that letter, who has the way to write that letter, are the tens of millions of mothers in the United States with little girls. The mom in Nebraska who's just a normal person married in a normal nuclear family working a normal job with normal kids being like, I don't want my kids exposed to this. Well, she didn't contribute to it, so she has every right to say like she doesn't want that. And I do think that little girls and teenage girls and everyone, and I think it happens more and more with men too, with like, some of that stuff, although not nearly to the extent that it happens with girls, of course, where they are exposed to this stuff and it does negatively impact them. And I've said this in the past that I think our society is wildly over-sexualized to a dangerous degree because of this stuff. But it's our fault. And
that's the thing.
Like, so like it's more complicated than these two are making it out to me.
And that's the whole problem I have with the argument in general is I feel like the genie's out of the bottle. And how do you fix any of this, right? Because even if it was, okay, cool, tabloids are terrible. They're taking photos and putting stories up. Is she pregnant? Is this happening? Is she on the rocks with her lover? Da, da, da. somehow finally people get that message and will think of, maybe I shouldn't buy the National Enquirer, which you'd think would be a common conception, but people seem to lose it all the time. In taking that away and then like, all right, now we're going to promote positive body image, right? Even if the magazine's covers went and did one thing, then you're going to, how do we handle film and TV? And we're shooting you from this angle. We're choosing the best shots. You're in this incredibly tight clothes. We're telling you to lose all this weight and do all these different, like the system's still so fucked.
Yeah, it is. It is. I think this kind of goes back to the argument we had last week a little bit, in that something has to give first, right? And that's why I kind of applaud Jennifer Aniston for writing this. In that, yes, I agree wholeheartedly with what you're saying, Colin. Like, I do think that she contributed to it over the years, but I think that now that she is getting a dose of the opposite perspective, I think she's allowed to change her mind. Only in that, I putting myself in her shoes, that would be terrible, right? I mean, it's a longer article, so I do want to encourage everyone to read it. She touches on the fact that people scrutinize her. There's constantly paparazzi around her. They're always talking about when she's going to get pregnant, as if that's a deficiency in her life. And she goes on to tell people, it's a great message for young women. Like, you don't have to have a child. You don't have to be married. You can't, in order to be happy. Those things don't define you as a woman. Other things define you as a woman. So I think it's a great, great message she's putting out there. But I think the most poignant part of what Piers Morgan said was, if you really believe that, then you have to be photographed. Like, you have to be willing to do one of those magazine covers without Photoshop. And you have to let people see what you really are, because that's the only way you can change this. If a beautiful, and she is beautiful woman of her age and her stature, like Jennifer Aniston did that, it would be inspirational. And it would actually probably start to change things a little bit. But people would have to follow suit. And to Greg's point, it's probably not going to happen, because you're right. There's an inherent sort of objectification in the industry that's so deep and like so deeply rooted that I don't know how you get that out.
I mean, I think the best, talking about it, right? This is weird. This is totally like our Black Lives Matter stuff. Talking about it.
It's a pertinent issue.
Yeah, exactly. But like, to this feeling.
And how so? In what respect?
The advice, talking about it, raising the issue, making people aware of it. Maybe that helps change opinions and change all these different things. Okay. But to that point of I first off haven't looked at a tabloid in forever, obviously, and then I don't care and I don't watch any news and I don't pay attention to whatever.
I'm an offender. I read the superficial all the time.
Sure,
every team decent,
and that's fine. It's fine. I'm not throwing a stone at that. I just don't even
like.
It's for
terrible
me,
and I should stop.
For me, it hasn't been a thought of this objectification of women, because I'm not even consuming that content. But what I remember and why I think this is such an age-old argument, I'm talking about in the late 90s, probably I don't even know, watching Conan O'Brien and Jenny McCarthy was on. Maybe it was Rosie O'Donnell. I don't even know. Jenny McCarthy was on a talk show and they showed her.
Also incredibly hot.
Yeah, of course. They showed her swimsuit cover that was on a Maxim or whatever. It must have been the Rosie show back in the day. And Jenny McCarthy was like, oh yeah, but this is photoshopped to all hell. And she took out a Sharpie and was like, here's where they cut away this. You can see a zit here, this, that. I don't have abs like. And I was like, that was an awesome thing for me, as just like a guy who didn't know anything about any of this, being like, oh, good on her for being like, yep, this is why this isn't real and this is totally fucked up. But
right,
it is to the same point of then why do it?
That's the problem, though. We're all incredibly visual creatures, right? Especially as guys are concerned. Although I don't think that it's guys specifically are the only reason why this is still propagated. I think that it has to do with both genders. But it would have been much more powerful for her to actually have showed that picture, the original picture, right?
Sure.
But
that's owned by the company.
How many times have you seen those articles pop up on the internet where it's like, look at what this person looked like before Photoshop, and your brain is conditioned to be like, ew, that's disgusting, right?
But she looks like a normal person,
right? But that's real life. Like, that's what we should be aspiring to, right? Curves, imperfections, those things that make us human, those things that make us relate to each other, because we all have them. We all have something about our bodies that we don't like, and I don't understand why that has to be such a fucking shame. Like, why do we have to be shamed about that all the time?
Yeah, right. But I think that a lot of it comes back. See, I think that this particular argument about body shaming and all this kind of stuff has gotten a little out of control, I think, in the sense that, like, I recall this thing with this British company about a year or two ago, this British health company that posted these billboards around London that were like this really beautiful blonde girl in a bikini, like beautiful body. It was like, get beach body ready or something. It was like a summer ad for like their health program or whatever.
I think I remember
and
this.
people like were like, this is fucking bullshit. Like, why is that the epitome of beauty and all that kind of stuff? And like that company took a stand and was like, that is the definition of beauty, basically.
Yeah.
And like, we're not sorry, and we're gonna like take out more ads with this girl, and like went all the crazy and like made a ton of money on it, because there was a rubber band effect where people like were like, but like, why is it also bad to look at beauty? Why is it also bad to aspire to beauty? And I say that as someone who's like, you know, like I think we should normalize people doing what they want and expressing themselves how they want and having the freedom of choice. If you want to be 400 pounds, that's your choice. But we shouldn't say that that's necessarily normal or healthy either, right? So like to me, it's like I'm overweight. You know, I have a gut. I have a big ass and big thighs.
Beautiful son of a bitch.
Thanks, but like this isn't. I look down on this in shame. You know, like and so I also shouldn't be told like be you, and I'm like, I'm gonna be me, but this also comes with repercussions. So let's be very clear about that as well. I'm gonna have higher cholesterol. I'm probably gonna die earlier than most people, but I probably have heart problems and all these kind of stuff.
You're not gonna have higher cholesterol.
But what I'm saying,
have you seen his mayonnaise intake?
That's fair.
The point I'm trying to make is like we should have the honest conversation from both ends, so that it's like this is the aspiration of beauty, and there's sacrifice with this, and this might not be healthy. This is like what we're trying to make more normal is more overweight, all these kinds of things, like I am or like Greg is or whoever. But like this is also comes with repercussions, and so there should be a broader conversation about how you get to these different positions and like why like we might look at this as like the societal norm of beauty and why we might not necessarily have to have that, and you shouldn't necessarily need that, but we also shouldn't normalize everything under the sun where it's like just be and do whatever you want with no repercussions at all. Sure. Because like I also think that that's destructive, and that also sends an equally destructive message, just as destructive in different ways as Jennifer Aniston on that Rolling Stone in the 90s is like there needs to be a more honest and complicated. It's not as easy as just saying, you know, this is the epitome of beauty. This is the epitome of ugliness. That's all in the eye of the beholder. All I'm saying is like the conversation has gotten really out of whack because we're not talking about the fundamental things that the issue is about anymore. And so with Jennifer Aniston, like I respect what she did in the 90s. I thought she was sexy as fucking hell in the 90s, by the way, like, and in the 2000s when she was on Friends and doing you know film and stuff like that. But I do think she's a hypocrite now for that as well, but like that's her right to be a hypocrite. Like all I'm saying is like you expose yourself to these things by doing those things to begin with, and I don't like people criticizing or opening up my life and saying like, is Colin okay and is Colin depressed and all these things. And I've brought up in the past that hurts me or whatever, but I understand why it happens. We talk about ourselves candidly. I've opened myself up completely. I have no right to say don't do that. Right? You know what I mean? I have a right to say like that hurts me like she did, but I don't have a right to get on my fucking soapbox about it. You know, I open myself up. I talk about myself all the time. So of course you're going to be curious. Of course you're going to be interested in those kinds of things. So I think it's just a very multi-layered, complicated issue. And there's a lot of people to blame. In fact, we're all to blame. But I still say that the victims are the normal people that are unassociated with this completely on both sides of the spectrum.
To clarify your position, though, didn't you write a post when everybody was asking if you're okay, you're depressed, and all this other stuff? Well, you're just saying that you wrote it and said it hurts my feelings, or did you not say stop in that?
I don't know if I ever have the right to say anyone to stop it. I have the right to say, I guess, what I want, but I don't remember the post in question. I think I was more saying in a post I'd have to go read it. I don't even know where it is. Maybe on the forums.
Facebook.
Facebook.
Yeah, you put everything on Facebook. You love that Facebook.
That's true.
Everybody follow him on Facebook.
That's true. But yeah, I don't like people getting involved in my shit, and I make it clear that like you do not know me on a personal level. Like I do not appreciate being talked about like that. But I understand how you get to that point. I'm not going to lose sleep over. I'm not going to write a fucking Huffington Post op-ed about it necessarily either.
Right. Well, she doesn't have Facebook probably.
She might not, but the point I'm trying to make is like I just feel like it's beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Yeah, what's beautiful to one person is not beautiful to another person. But let's understand how we got to this point, and let's understand the contributors to that, and let's understand that like we can have normalcy and freedom of choice and freedom of expression that can be as skinny as the most bulimic anorexic person in the world, or as fat as the most obese fucking out of shape person in the world, and everything in between, and that's totally fine. But there's no reason why like we can't necessarily criticize or not criticize those based on your perspective.
I mean, I hear what you're saying. To talk about the image of the woman that was plastered all over the UK, I think the argument people have is that that's an unattainable image of perfection, and it's not real. And so I hear you, like people should be allowed to live their lives and look however they want to look and however makes it happiest. However, when you're bombarded with things that are literally fake, I think that's where the problem comes in, is that it makes people feel rightfully so depressed and sad because they will never be able to attain that, because even the person that's in that image couldn't attain that, right? That woman that was on that billboard probably had a few stretch marks, a little cellulite, curves that were a little bit thicker. They probably shrunk her down, took all that stuff out, and boom, there you go. And so when people come out and criticize that, I think they have a right to criticize it, because it's almost false advertisement in a certain way, right? Use our program and you look like this. Are you going to fucking walk behind me and airbrush me the entire time?
But I don't think that's what they said. I mean, and
that's the implication, though.
Sure,
right?
it is.
And that's what these tabloid these magazine covers try to sell. However, and again, this is a part I probably should have read with Piers Morgan, is that he brings up an interesting point. in that, and I think he's doing it a little bit tongue in cheek, and I'm paraphrasing, so please read the article. But he says that tabloids are almost a system of checks and balances for these magazine covers, right? Because when you think about what a tabloid does, is a tabloid catches the person when they're in the wild and says, look, this person isn't perfect. This person does have some cellulite. This person has put on a few pounds. Guess what? This person's a normal person, right? Now, I think they do it very insidiously, and they capitalize off of it. But I think that why do we have those two polar opposites? Why can't we meet in the middle somewhere where we all just agree that the human body is beautiful in every shape and form, and we can recognize that, and we start celebrating that instead?
Do you not think that this feels like a spectrum argument? Don't you think the overwhelming majority of people in the middle of this thing who aren't consuming this or aren't pushing, whatever body image greatness to the extreme of how fat or it doesn't matter how big you are, there's got to be this midsection of normal people that I would loop us in that are just like, sure, Jennifer Aniston's photoshopped or whatever, and I know she's not perfect, but yeah, she's incredibly attractive. And we meet normal people, our peers or whatever, and you're like, damn, that person looks great. Darren Brazil is hot. You know what I mean? Like I know that he is hot for a normal person standard or whatever. He's not a celebrity, but you know that he's attractive. And like, I think when I see somebody on TV or whatever, I'm like, damn, they look amazing. I'm sure they, worked out for this role or did this or that. Or like, I know it's not just God given that that's what they are.
Well, I mean, I think you're maybe sure, but I think there's a lot of people out there like I was when I was a kid who
kids a different thing. Kids are impressionable. I understand. They're trying to figure it out.
Between the years of 10 and 20, that I didn't understand why I was incredibly overweight and why, Arnold Schwarzenegger was fucking jacked. Of course, I didn't understand steroids back then either. I do now.
Yeah, look at the ice cream scoops.
We're all exposed to that imagery, though, and
sure. But you have to remember, we're closing in our 30s, right? And we are not impressionable teenage women who are suffering from bulimia because they need to look like Jennifer Aniston on the cover of these magazines, right? And conversely, again, I don't want anyone to think that I'm coming to the defense of these tabloids because I think what they do is disgusting. I think they shame. I think they're the worst in this argument because they point out women's flaws and they do so in such a fucking cunning, like insidious manner that how can you not feel bad about yourself when someone says, look, this person's got cellulite, it's disgusting, and you look down at your own legs and go, fuck, I have that, I must also be disgusting. That's terrible, right? But this is media. This is what we all look to for. In a lot of ways, especially when you're young, this is what you look for inspiration and for leadership and for guidance, right? This is what you're bombarded with constantly. Like everywhere you fucking go, you see a magazine cover with someone on it that's not real. It's not fucking attainable. Even if you try your hardest and work out with the best nutritionist, the best fucking lifting instructor, the best Pilates instructor, the best yoga instructor, you will never look like that person looks on the magazine because they are not fucking real. They might as well be a CGI, a computer-generated image of a human being. Because that's how much shit goes into this stuff a lot of ways. And I think it's just disgusting and destructive. And I think we need to find a way to not have it happen anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I necessarily disagree with what you're saying. What I'm saying is that like there's more personal responsibility to be taken about all this shit as well.
Of course,
you look at the magazine cover and you can use your own fucking brain. And I'm not saying you. I'm saying the person that's looking at it being like, I want to be like this, and be like. And then look, that'd be like me looking at an Arnold Schwarzenegger picture from Terminator 2 and then looking at myself and being like, yeah, I don't think so.
Hashtag goals.
Yeah,
but you guys are also people who have worked in media for the last 10 years. You understand Photoshop. You understand these things. You worked around video production. You get what the camera can do. You get how to light someone correctly, right? You guys have a perspective on this that I don't think 90% of America might have, right? If you are just a normal human being working as an accountant someplace and you're looking at these things, you might not stop to think twice. You might just be like, wow, The Rock is amazing. He's got a great body. What you don't realize is that he's probably going to have a heart attack by the time he's 50, just like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Don't say that.
Because he's using anabolic steroids probably to get that
No,
fucking
don't
big.
say that. That's not what The Rock would do. The Rock would do it all natural.
I hear what you're saying. I totally agree with what you're saying. I just want to stress the personal responsibility thing. It's the same thing I used to say about like and I know it's a weird comparison, but about the financial crisis, right? Like everyone's like these fucking banks and these big businesses and all. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. What they did was fucking fucked up. You know who took out the mortgages? You
Normal
did.
people. That's true.
You know what I mean?
I'll give you that. I'll
took
give you
the
that
mortgage
too.
out at the subprime rate. You know what I mean? You didn't use your brain. You let them take advantage of you. You know, so it's the same way I feel about this. I'm like, yeah, the big businesses are fucking terrible. The big banker, those guys should be in prison right now. There's no denying about it. But you also have some culpability in this, and it's the same thing I feel about these magazine covers or all this kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, Jennifer Aniston, you looked beautiful on all these magazine covers, and men fucking wanted to be with you, and women wanted to be you, and all these kinds of things. And now you're on the other side of the coin, and you have something to say about that. I respect that. I respect that you want to be left alone. I don't think people should be taking random pictures of you and publishing them. I think it's fucked up. I wouldn't want to be that. I'm reclusive as it is because I don't even want to go to like meet and greets all the time. I can't imagine being Jennifer Aniston. I would never leave the house. Yeah. You can't be normal at that point. I get it. But at the same time, the people that are reading these magazines or watching E! News or buying those products, the market speaks. you know?
Yeah.
And they're speaking, the reason that ad did so well in the UK and the reason that ad did better and better and better and the reason that they doubled down on it and made more and more money is because people are like, yeah, like this does work. Like that girl is hot, or I want to be like her. I know but like there needs to be some reasonable, in other words, we've relinquished like any sort of notion that like we have responsibility for anything we do. And I'm over it. You know what I mean? I am this fat because I eat like shit.
Yeah,
that is why I'm this fat. It is no one else's fault but mine.
But there's also a component of education that comes into that, right? And when people just don't know, and you're selling them something that they think is real, then that's false marketing. That's false advertising, right? And I get that it's a Google search away, and everyone in this day and age should understand that. But it's very difficult for a kid to understand that. It's very difficult for a kid to put 2 and 2 together and understand the complexities of Photoshop and how the real world works, right? All they see is this image of perfection that they can never be. Right. And that shit gets embedded at a very young age. She writes about that in the article as well. I hear you. And I take that responsibility for myself. I was an overweight person growing up for the majority of my life up until this point. And I finally said enough is enough. I took the tool. I educated myself, found the tools I needed to, and lost the weight. And now I consider myself fairly healthy. And I hear you. It has to be the individual. But also people like us have to help disseminate that information and educate people so that they can start to have that progression on their own. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Sorry, you winked. I didn't know if you were winking.
I'm mugging the camera. I was mugging the camera. Don't worry about it.
But I hear you. I'm 100% true. I think it's every single person's individual responsibility to live the lives they want to be. You are only responsible for your own happiness and your own well-being. No one else is responsible for that. So I hear you on that. And it's exactly the same. That shit in the financial crisis used to drive me fucking nuts because all my friends bought houses and they're all upside down. I was like, you sign the mortgage.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you sign the mortgage. It's like, well, if it was only the banks, then why are like half the people fine with their houses and only the people with the subprime mortgages in trouble? It's because you made that decision,
right?
You know, and so like that's just I'm not like trying to like say you didn't know, you didn't educate yourself, but that's your fault.
Yeah,
and it's the same thing with these kinds of things with body shaming. It's like. And that's why the issue gets complicated and gets muddled because it's like, if you want to be 400 pounds, more power to you. I don't give a flying fuck what you are. But don't get mad when you're like, when people might not necessarily, the market might not necessarily want to see that body image on a billboard with a woman in a bathing suit for being healthy. Like that doesn't make any sense, right? Mm-hmm. So like, that was the kind of thing I was saying. No more than anyone want to see this fucking naked body in any respect at any point in time for anything to be sold, right?
Sure.
Other than a few laughs. But I get it,
but
because that's who I am. And I did that to myself.
That's the problem though, because you are a fairly healthy human being aside from all the mayonnaise that you consume, which may or may not be healthy for you, depending on which side of the camp you come on when it comes to saturated fat. But why isn't your body, which I would consider a good body, why isn't that used to sell fitness things and just sell swimsuits and just sell diet plans? And
because
things like
the culpable market doesn't want it.
Why don't they want it though? That's the problem. And that's what people need to change. But if you look in the mirror, most people probably look exactly like you. Yeah, like look at the bodies that are sitting in this room right now. The fucking spectacle of meat that we got.
There's no.
Behind
I'm
these.
Not disagreeing with you. Yeah. I'm not saying you're wrong. What I'm saying is that it's just like the amorphous kind of forces that dictate these things in the money making market.
Right.
Don't want it. And I accept it. And I also accept that if I really wanted to be Colin Moriarty, the fucking Adonis, I could do something about that, but I just don't care enough. I want it. After this, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. After this, I'm going to go get a fucking cheeseburger and fries like I do almost every day for dinner. God bless That's what's making me fat. God bless That's my choice. It's a good choice. And I accept all of the responsibility for it. All of the responsibility for it. It's me. I can sit on my deathbed after a fucking massive heart attack or heart failure or something and be like, man, I wish I didn't. And I can be like, these motherfuckers sold me a cheeseburger. I walked in and ate it. I put my money on the table and I ate it over and over again. That's the only choice. That's the only point I'm trying to make.
And you wanted it, just like the people for ads like this. We want the person to look like this on. That's
exactly what I'm saying. So like, if we want it to change, it becomes it's a societal kind of thing, and I get it. I get all of it. All I'm saying is like I've fucking contributed it too. You know,
sure.
I wouldn't like if Jennifer Aniston wasn't Jennifer Aniston in those pictures, I wouldn't have picked up those magazines and looked at them. I'm as culpable as anyone. Mm-hmm. But like it's just so much more. I just don't like the deflection of blame kind of shit. You know, like I don't like it. We all are we are all culpable, and we are not above reproach in any of these respects. We contribute to this invisible hand that forces all this shit to happen. So I know that's not the way it started. I know we were talking about specifically Jennifer Aniston, specifically Piers Morgan, but it's more complicated than that. And I think that like there's so much blame to go around and so much shame to go around. I guess that's what I'm saying. Sure. It's like, sure. I'm ashamed of my diet. I'm ashamed of my body, and I'm ashamed of a lot of shit.
I feel like the shame though is where this all comes into play, where it's just like the body shaming, slut shaming, this shaming, that shaming, like that's where there's the problem, is the fact that there's any shame being put on anybody else besides you to yourself. That is when the personal responsibility comes in. I think it's somewhere in between responsibility and shame, and taking ownership of that shame and directing it towards yourself and trying to decide what you want to be, how you want to do that, and going forth from there. But again, that isn't a very adult decision. That's something that you need to grow into understanding all of these things that you've grown up taking in and seeing and deciding what you're doing. But it's the people that are throwing the shame at others for however they are. That's the problem, is it's that perpetuates pushing one thing down and another thing up and creating the extremes, when really you're absolutely right, where their beauty and health are different things entirely. You know, it's like, it's not that skinny is hot. There is a point where skinny is the most dangerous thing ever. Like, you know, if you're too skinny, you're fucked. I've known so many people that have ruined their lives because they let the goal of looking like those magazines destroy them. And then the other way of people that, you know, feel super depressed that they don't look like that. But I feel like at the end of the day, it's about reflecting on yourself and not pushing it onto others, in terms of the shaming and stuff. So I think that like the first step is to leave other people alone and just look at yourself.
Yeah, man. You ever notice Tim's getting real insightful lately, like real philosophical?
Getting old. Kevin's still a child.
Once Tim learned stress, he learned to be an adult.
Do you remember there was that pivoting week where Tim was like, "Fuck, I'm finally stressed out."
Yeah,
and you and
I think we did an entire topic about it.
We were like,
oh, damn it! I knew I tried to pull back. Fuck you, Tim.
Back. It's like you were trying to pull the swing back and you had to go to the first base umpire. And he's like,
got him. Tim,
yes,
you're beautiful.
Thank you.
What's your topic?
My topic is me and Alfredo.
Oh, right.
From a couple weeks ago, we discussed on this show that me and him once ran a coffee shop.
And was it called Tim and Alfredo's Coffee Shop?
No, it was called Kaleo. It was a Hawaiian themed cafe ran by two gay Hawaiian men, who then didn't want to do it because they decided they wanted to go be hula instructors. So they passed it on to me and Alfredo.
Okay.
So you didn't own it. You managed it.
We ran it. We did everything else. So
this sounds like a sitcom. Like, how did you guys run?
I know it does. So here's the thing. The reason I'm bringing this up is because how did this come up a couple weeks ago?
Who the hell knows?
I think barista got brought up at some point. I was like, I was a barista, and you were like, what?
Yeah.
Anyway, Kevin put in his notes that I should tell this story. I'm shocked that I haven't told it before on
Me
the
too.
show.
Now I've heard this story.
I must have. You've heard it a million times.
It's hilarious.
It's ridiculous. So this is back. Must have been like 18. I never had a real job in my life. I did things for money, but I didn't have any actual. I wasn't working jobs and stuff.
Sure.
I was going to school.
Your resume was just street corners.
Exactly. So then I was in college at SF State. And,
shout out to SF State.
And Alfredo was like, but kind of bouncing around a couple little jobs. We never really kept anything for too long. For those that don't know, Alfredo is a very pretty boy, and
you both were pretty boys back then.
Girls seem to like him a lot.
Yeah.
So he, kind of had his fair share of like emotional turmoil going on at that point, because 18, it's in between high school and college, so it's a really fun time for us, right? We're almost every day getting some phone call. Alfredo's like, "Oh, hey, you want to come and meet this girl?" I'm like, "All right, cool." She's with us for like a month, and then there's another one for another month, and then another one. They all just kind of add on top of each other.
I understand. As Britney Spears would say, he wasn't a girl, but he was not yet a woman.
Not yet a woman. Oops, he did it again. There's a whole thing. Hit me, baby, one more time. I told him not to, but he did.
They were a slave for him.
They were all slaves for him. So, eventually, he was with this one girl who was a good friend of mine, and I actually knew her before he met her, and she worked at this cafe.
The Hawaiian Cafe.
The Hawaiian Cafe. The cafe is actually about 10 blocks that way.
No way.
It's on Irving.
Is it still there?
Oh, was, yes. It's still a cafe, but now it's different.
Okay.
So anyway, it was these two older gay Hawaiian men, nicest dudes ever, and they ran the cafe, owned it. They've had it for years, and they had this one girl, my friend, who was their employee that would like kind of, whenever they didn't want to serve, she'd come in and fill in the gaps and stuff after school. It hit the point where they're like, "Oh, we need some more help, and we want to go teach hula." So they kept doing that. So they brought Alfredo in. Now,
how did they bring Alfredo?
They brought Alfredo in because he kept hanging out there because
they got to have a better vetting process.
Because of this girl, right? And so he would just be kind of chilling there. And
so
all
Alfredo
of a sudden,
was trying to have sex with this girl, and they were like, "This guy's a perfect employee."
Alfredo was having sex with this girl.
Okay.
So he kept going there.
Toss him an apron, get him in there.
And they, obviously, by the time that he got his probably like 20th free banana mocha, whatever the fuck,
right?
They were like,
this kid to work.
We should put this kid to work.
Yeah.
And also, again, going back to it, these are two older gay men, very attracted to young Alfredo.
Yeah, sure.
That's just how things
then.
work. I'm just going to be honest.
I'm old straight man, and I'm attracted to Alfredo.
It happens.
He's like,
and this is when he was younger and more nubile.
You know what I mean?
So he was. This
He's
is
like what the future human's gonna look like.
Right.
This was him in his prime, I would say. So he's doing a lot of good things. He's doing God's work. And eventually they're like, you know what? I want you to do this. And he's like, but I don't drink coffee. And they're like, doesn't matter. You could do this. And he's like, all right. So he starts working there with this girl. And that's going all great. Now, guess what's the next step? By the time I get my 20th banana mocha, whatever the fuck, they're like, we should hire this guy too. And I'm like, I've never drank coffee in my life. And they're like, doesn't matter. Get to it. Over the course of a couple weeks, it hits the point where they're like, you guys are doing fine. We're just going to go teach hula full time. You guys good to like from open to close every day? And we're like, sure. It's like, do we get the money for it? They're like, yeah, like, all right, whatever. So very quickly it went from us just kind of doing part-time stuff to us being a little more full-time to eventually within the course of a month, just we were the ones going to Smart and Final, buying all the tea and buying all the shit and having to figure out the money of how it all went, of making sure we're making money and making sure that we're all this stuff. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? We're adults, but we're not at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew we weren't adults the day that it was the 5th time that this happened, where a regular came in and was like, hey, can I get my mocha? And I'm like, absolutely. He goes to sit down, make the mocha. Now, for those that don't know, a mocha is just hot chocolate and a shot of espresso.
Mm-hmm.
I walk over, just give this motherfucker a hot
I didn't
chocolate.
know that either.
Because I absolutely forgot to put that espresso in there.
Mm-hmm.
Very different drinks. Most people ordering mochas, they're getting it for the espresso, not for the hot chocolate.
Yeah.
So he gets this. I instantly realize, I look over at Alfredo and he's just like, we could fix this. I'm like, I know we can. Distract him. Goes over to distract him. We're running fucking covert ops missions. Yeah, this is the 5th motherfucking time. Walking over. And I pour that shot in there, mix it a little bit, run back, right? A couple people notice and they think it's all like, oh, it's so funny. But I'm like, you better shut your fucking mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shut up. Shut your fucking mouth.
And so then
I'll
it
make
got
you
to the
work
point-
here if you don't shut up.
It got to the point where
This place will suck you in.
we'd have regulars all the time. It's
Yeah.
a cafe in the Sunset District, so like we're getting a lot of college kids coming in writing their papers and stuff. And it got to the point where I don't understand how we didn't get shut down legally based on how we were running this place. It's like there's a sign outside that says open from 8 to 5 or 8 to 10 or whatever. Nah, it was more like whenever we wanted till whenever we wanted. And we would just show up. There'd be people waiting outside and we're just like, yeah, sorry, it's going to be a while for the shit to warm up. And like, what shit? I'm like, I don't know what this is, but the thing that I need to put in to do the other thing. And they're like, all right. But they loved us. That we were just so endearing. You can look at the Yelp reviews to this day.
Oh my God.
And you can find all these people saying, oh, Tim and Alfredo, they're so fun. And it's just like, I guess we are. But my favorite part was when all of the fun and games turned a bit more Tim and Alfredo.
Mm-hmm.
And what that means is
You threw a giant dance party and shot a video in there.
parts of that, not all of them. But so it got really interesting when we realized that we were making enough money from just the tips and from selling just tea. Like just the tea was such a good return that a lot of the other drinks we could just kind of give away. So and it went from like, oh, that's an attractive girl. She's going to get a free drink. To, that's a girl. She's going to get a free drink. To, that guy came in here with a bunch of girls once. Let's give him a free drink. It just devolved into just this disaster of us just giving all the women free drinks. Because we're 18 and we're Tim and Alfredo.
Sure.
What was the place called?
Kaleo.
I want to try to find these Yelp reviews while you keep telling me.
So then things got a little bit more interesting. Now remember, Alfredo first got this job because of said girl, right?
Is she still in the picture at this point?
So she was in the picture for a while until she just couldn't take it. She's just like, I'm not working with you guys. Like you guys are just, you're doing your own thing. Because nobody liked her eventually. They wanted me and Alfredo. They didn't want to come in when she was there, and she started getting all emotional about it, which I totally understand. Whatever. We were cool.
People would just walk by and look in, and if you guys weren't there, they would just keep going.
Like, keep going.
Go to Starbucks.
We just had a little fun, and then we instituted a karaoke night.
That's great.
We would just have people come and do karaoke, which pretty much meant we were doing karaoke and no one was serving anything. We saw it as more entertainment.
We were like, I really want a coffee. We're like, well, go back there and make a fucking coffee for yourself.
I gotta kill this queen set right now.
Yeah, so it was great. But then I'll never forget the kind of pinnacle of this entire story is Alfredo and that girl ended up breaking up. No one was surprised. And he met this other girl working at the cafe. She was a veterinarian from down the street. She was adorable. And one day he was just like, hey, let's go out sometime. And she was like, yeah, where do you want to go? She's like, let's get dinner. Like, where do you want to do dinner? And he was like, do you want to do dinner here? And she's like, sure. Is that weird? And we're like, no, we run this shit. She's like, all right, cool. So we set up a little date thing. And then that Sunday, there was like an upper area. We decked that shit out with fucking little Christmas lights and all the nice shit, little fucking flowers everywhere, a little table. It looked like Beauty and the Goddamn Beast, right? Mm-hmm. And that's me and Alfredo's nom de plume is obnoxiously overproduced dinner dates.
Yeah.
Yep. So that was great. She came, had a great time. And yeah, we definitely were not supposed to be there at the time we were. But it was fine until the owner came back. First time we'd seen him in months.
This is like Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
Classic movie, by the way.
But he walks in and we expect like, all right, we've been running this shit. And like, again, our profits were still great. Like, despite all the shenanigans going on, we were really doing a good job. But we still expected to get scolded for, completely improperly using this motherfucker. But he comes in, he just looks up, looks at Alfredo, gives him the thumbs up, and walks out. And we're like, we've won.
Think about it from this guy's perspective, right? No, he hasn't had a complaint yet from the police. And the money keeps coming in.
Yeah.
What the fuck does he care? He got you guys to run his business for him while he goes off and teaches hula.
Yeah. Oh, how did I forget the best part of this story? Alfredo also took this man's hula classes. So Alfredo for a time, it was run before he was Mr. Twitch, before he was Mr. Alfredo Plays, he was a professional hula dancer who would go to Hawaii to perform and compete in hula dancing.
Please tell me there's pictures of this.
There's got to be. There's video of this. Do you know them?
He used to have to get
Did he wear the armbands and shit?
Oh, he wore it all, man. And
like he looked like the Ultimate Warrior, right?
They'd have to wear little thongs. All the dudes, everyone had to. But it's like, but then they had these.
Let's be clear, they didn't have to wear the mesh thongs.
I mean, it was part of like the cultural thing, the specific group that they did. Like there was really strict rules with the uniforms.
Yeah, but did the two guys that ran the place were like, look, back 2,000 years ago, they used to wear these thongs that had to go up your ass. That's just how it goes. This is just how it goes.
Know what?
I'm sorry.
I don't know, but they had the little.
That's what I would be like if I had to run like a female hula hoop. I'm like, I'm sorry, they used to do it topless. I apologize to you.
We got to keep it accurate. We got to keep it accurate.
You want to get sued?
There was the skirts, right? So Alfredo would have to wear a little skirt over it, but then there was rules where he couldn't wear boxers and he couldn't even wear like boxer briefs or even briefs. Like it just like it would show too much, so he had to wear the thongs because that's just
a little speedo action.
That's just how it went. But yeah,
sure,
he had to get this mesh thong. So me and Kevin went on this fucking trip to find it, and we had to go to like San Jose to end up finding the mesh thong for men. And you can see it all. You could see it all.
It's mesh.
It was magical.
Yeah.
But anyways, Alfredo would perform at all these hula dance things, so that was fun. But that's where he then met his next girlfriend, was during the hula dancing things, right? Keep in mind, there's a lot of overlap with a lot of this shit. There was never...
Yeah, you're using girlfriend as a very, very, very loose term.
Well, it was one of those things, he'd be with this girl and then leave and then get with another girl and then take a break, get with another girl, and then, they got back again. So there's a lot of weird overlap.
Sure.
Which then results in, to speed this along, the day after the date with this new girl, the veterinarian girl, that went fantastic. Everything was good. It was a karaoke night, so we're like inviting all our friends over to party because it's like, fuck this, we're not going to work. Let's just do karaoke and have fun. So my whole group of friends comes over to this cafe. We're just chilling, singing along, doing all the boy band stuff. Then the veterinarian girl comes in, and it's like, oh, what's up? All my friends are meeting her and like, oh, cool, this is great. They're now talking and stuff. Then girl number one comes in that originally worked with Alfredo, comes in to get her stuff for like the final goodbye. And it was just awesome because we did not expect her to come in. She walks in fucking pissed. Then Hula Girl comes in and me and my friend Curran are standing there like, this is awesome. And Alfredo, amazing. I have never seen him more upset where there's three girls who just realized that each other existed. and they were angry.
Oh my God, this is a great story.
Yeah. So we gave them all banana mochas.
Dorothy S. posted on April 1st, 2009. How do I say it? Kaleo Cafe. Went here with a couple of friends for something sweet to eat, a cup of tea, and some great conversation. She describes the location. There's a neighborhood feeling you get when you walk in because many regulars seem to frequent the place. Most importantly, for those who love to study at cafes, if you don't want to hear someone singing Spice Girls or Rick Ashley's Never Gonna Give You Up, don't study on a Friday evening, as it is karaoke night. Overall, the service is very friendly. I would definitely come back to hang with those regulars and the owner. And then I got one here. This is from Kimberly H. May 21st, 2009. Yay for Kaleo Cafe. It is a good little coffee shop. I love it because it's all Hawaiian style and they have nice music playing. The coffee is also Hawaiian, which is good. ... Love the Kona brew. I always come here during my laundry time and it's pretty chill. There is a cute teenager working here that I got a crush on him. Hee hee.
See, I'm telling you,
You're doing it. You guys are holding it down.
So then, like, to end all of this, it ended pretty poorly.
Yeah,
So,
it sounds like I don't understand why you're not there right now. This isn't like your future, your life.
we were great. Like, again, we were really running it. We picked up business. Everything was good. And oh man, were we laundering tips and stuff? That was
Jesus Christ.
Well, no, you can't launder tips. Tips, you just go straight into you.
Well, I mean, because here's the secret. It's like we got to keep the tips. So the thing was, if we're giving out free drinks, guess what? We're just
You got
getting a
more
lot of
tips.
tips.
Yep.
So it was kind of genius. That's one way to look at it.
One word for it.
That's the one way to do it.
Anyways,
illegal.
I don't know.
Maybe another word?
Whatever. So what ended up happening was
When you run the business, you get to make the rules.
That's true.
Alfredo's
You
hula
give shit
team
away
ended
free.
up doing really, really, really well. It's not a joke. So I remember we had.
What, did they go to nationals? Like, is there?
There was nationals, yeah.
Oh,
but there was a
Jesus
day.
Christ.
It wasn't nationals. I think it was the state competition
Thrown in Omaha, Nebraska. Nationals for hula.
Super Hawaiian.
that took place at the Palace of Fine Arts in San Francisco. And there was a problem because we had to close down the cafe because there was no one to run it because the teachers were gonna obviously be there. Alfredo was gonna be there, and they're like, "We're not letting Alfredo dance without his #1 cheerleader." And I'm like, "Thank you for including me in this." So we closed the cafe for that day, which apparently pissed a lot of people off. They didn't get mad at us. They got mad at the owners because they're like, Tim and Alfredo wouldn't do this to us. They're our boys. So then we had a screening of his hula dancing the next day to make up for it. And I feel like they enjoyed that because I did. Watch. If you haven't seen Alfredo hula dance, you have not lived. That man moves in a way that I didn't know
beautiful.
Was possible. Like I thought Kevin's swimming was a sight to see, but Alfredo's hip motions is like, I don't know, Nick. Like try to describe what you'd imagine.
I mean, I would imagine it's like
Arousing.
Well, I was gonna say having sex with a guy for the first time, but I think that it must.
I feel like it'd be like soothing waves.
No, I think
Coming
it's
in.
more like it's probably more like, you know those big machines that drive pylons into the ground?
Yeah, pile drivers.
Pile drivers?
Yeah.
It's probably just like that, where it's like at first you're like, that can't and then boom, the whole thing goes into the ground. You're like, the force behind that thrust was awe-inspiring.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Awe-inspiring.
Awe-inspiring
Because
is a
Alfredo-
good way to put it.
Yeah. Not a small man, Alfredo.
But I'm still confused. Well, how does this end? It still sounds like this sitcom is going great.
So it was going great. Everything was good. But then it eventually hit a point where the owners were like, all right, they won the competition. They're like, we want to take this further. Like, we want to like really go full time with the hula dancing and stuff. And we're going national. So they kind of were like, all right, we're going to sell the cafe.
Did you try to buy it? Did you think about buying it?
No, we were dumb little kids. We didn't think that way at all. They sold it to these Russian dudes that I am 99% convinced were like
The mob.
Yeah. But they didn't tell us that they were selling this place, right? So for a while, we're at Fun Lovin' Tim and Alfredo karaoke nights and hula viewings, and it's gonna be fucking great. All of a sudden, these like really shifty looking Russian dudes start walking in on cell phones, looking at everything, examining everything, like talking in Russian, and we're like, what the fuck? And we're like, do you want a drink? And they're like,
Yeah.
and they just walk away. It's like, there was a point where Alfredo called me. He's like, hey, I know you're off. You need to come in now. I'm scared. Like, what the fuck? He's like, the Russians are back. And I'm like, what the fuck? And so then we eventually called the managers and we're like, there's these Russian dudes and they look really shifty. And what the fuck's going on? And they're like, oh, no, they're just trying to buy the place. And we're like, what? Why are you selling our cafe? So we were kind of offended by it, but eventually it just sold. Like after like a day, it was just switched over. And all of a sudden, Like the waterfall is gone. And the Hawaiian music was replaced by like Russian rap. And I was like, this is horrible. And then those new bosses were such fucking assholes. And they're like, we're gonna make this a hookah bar. And we're like, okay. And they're like, the crowd here is no good. We need the hookah crowd. And I'm like, all right. And about a week later, me and Alfredo's sitting there and there's all these hookah people. They're all hookahing it up and stuff. And I'm like, I don't like this one goddamn bit. We quit.
On the spot?
Like, we're done.
2 weeks notice?
Maybe like a month or two later. But like, it took a while for us to realize that we didn't like it. But we didn't
people?
like that shit at all. They would not let us,
Karaoke?
They banned our karaoke?
Yeah.
That was step one for me.
I understand.
But it ended up. But yeah, then IGN happened. It was pretty much just like I went straight from that to.
How long did you work there? Because this story sounds epic and like it went on. I like to imagine it went on for years, but I'm sure how many months was this?
No, it was probably. I want to say it was 2 years. It was probably a year. It was probably a year.
Okay.
To be realistic. But back then, yeah, it felt like forever. But Alfredo basically lived there because I was going to school at that point. He wasn't. So he would open and close every day. I only came in for when I had times for shifts and stuff.
Yeah.
The best part is I didn't drive back then and I lived in Daly City. So every morning, even if I had to open, Alfredo would drive and pick me up and bring me there and then go home. What the fuck is our lives?
I have no idea.
I miss Alfredo so much.
I'm surprised. Like, did you clean it and everything too?
Dude,
Like
we had to do it all.
But you did a good job at it.
No.
Okay.
But we did it all.
Did you have health code violations? They ever come by put the A or the B?
Oh my God, they did. Oh, that was. So we got one of our regulars gave us the inside tip. They were like, yo, the health people are coming. I know this because of the company I work for. I'm just letting you guys know because I like you guys. And we're like, thank you. We cleaned the shit out of that place. It was like definitely a montage moment.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh,
This is a fucking movie. This is a movie.
They closed the store to finally
we have
clean
to
it.
make this movie one day.
My favorite part is like telling the story. I totally forgot about the whole hula subplot.
Well, you can write it into the. Alfred hasn't been written into the animated series, right?
No,
you can write
it
him in as at the local coffee shop.
I gotta be honest. I like this as a full feature length movie. Like this is hilarious. Like
what's the conflict they're trying to overcome?
The conflict is that there's personal conflicts. That Alfredo's got the subplot of too many girlfriends. He's also got the subplot being pulled away to the hula life.
Well, is that
Tim's got the subplot of he just started interning at a cool tech company that he thinks he might get pulled away from. They love working together, but they're both growing up.
Yeah.
And then you on top of
coming
that,
of age story.
you put the drama of who are these crazy Russians? Are they mob? Are they drug dealers? They keep coming in. We're scared of them. We have this whole build up to the climax where Tim and Alfredo think they have to protect this place.
They have guns.
They have guns. They have all these things. And they have these cool cell phones and really shiny suits. And then eventually they walk in, and as it's about to go down, the original owners finally come back from whatever the fuck vacation they were on, and they go, whoa, stop, don't shoot each other. These are the new owners. Sorry, we forgot to tell you guys. This is turning into a hookah bar, at which time you guys finally realize it's time to move on. That is my pitch for
you just smash cut to a 2 weeks later screen, and it's just them sitting in this hookah place like, let's quit.
Yeah. I love it.
And that's my pitch for the movie, Tim and Alfredo Run a Coffee Shop.
Mm-hmm. I'm assuming there's
Starring Greg Miller and
No.
Colin Moriarty.
I mean, it's starring Kevin. Kevin's there. How much did Kevin just come in? Like, I'm assuming you have food there too. You had some cookies, some pastries.
Kevin just lived in the back room, and they just kept feeding him. They just throw him like power bars and shit like that.
He just came in out in the center area.
I think I went to this place maybe 3 times.
Why?
You didn't like it?
We had things to do.
Yeah, we were
It was
busy.
like, well, remember, it was during the majority of these shenanigans were like during the day when people are doing shit.
What is Kevin doing
I
now?
went to school.
No, you didn't. You went to school to do this?
We were
I
children.
never had like a semester that had less than like 18 units.
And this is what you do now. You
He was
push
supposed to be a
buttons on a
doctor, and
board.
now he
Nailed
has some sort of flesh-eating virus on his arm. And
Yeah, for me, I was the opposite of Kevin. Well, actually, I would take that many units, but I would always scheme it so that I would have like 3 classes at once that I knew I didn't need to. Like, I would look at all the syllabi,
Yeah.
and be like, all right, what's the minimum amount of days I need to go to this class to get an A? And I would just do the math on it and figure it all out. I'd go to ratemyprofessors.com before I chose everything,
Sure.
so I would prepare, know. And one of the semesters when I was working at the cafe, I had like 3 overlapping classes at once, and I would just go into the bare minimum amount of classes. Got A in all 3 of them, but then I would balance it out with going to the job. I'm a shifty motherfucker.
How did you do the midterm and the final?
That's all I would do essentially.
No, but if the
I would make
classes
sure
happened at the same time, how did you do?
In college, or at least where I was, like our finals weren't during our class time. They would
It'd be some
ours
random
and
ass sort of
ours
thing.
were, okay.
But I mean, for us, it was set up that if this class is gonna be the same time, but I would just go tell the teacher like, "Hey, I'm working at a cafe. Can I come in at this other time for this?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, whatever."
Oh, okay.
'Cause I didn't give a fuck.
Right,
Sure.
good point.
But yeah, it was
They get paid either way.
fantastic.
They don't care if you learn.
You're also like a
They get
media
paid nothing,
major, right?
professors.
Aren't you like a communications major?
Yeah, but a lot of this was like the pre that I was like in a meteorology class or a political science class.
Yeah, I was literally
No.
I was a film school major, so all I used to do was sleep through class or just sleep. Like I wouldn't even get up, and then they were like, "Well, here's the movies you're supposed to watch. You go to the library and watch them." That was it.
And you're like, all right, cool, I'm
Easy.
done.
We had a scheme with. I used to go to my classes, all of them except for this one. I took jazz music. I took a few music classes. I took jazz music, and it was in an auditorium at Northeastern, so there was like hundreds of people in the class, and we had this scheme where like we would go every few classes because they had a sign-in sheet, and I'm like,
You're done.
are you fucking kidding me? Like that's how you're gonna figure out if I'm here. And then we had like 4 people in the class, and like you would go every 4 classes or something. And
Well,
sign
so
everyone else's name.
the modern equivalent to the sign-in sheet, because they got wise to that, is they got these clickers that you would have to buy. And then you go, and it's a proximity thing where you'd have to go in and click. They'd put a code up, and you have to put the code in to prove that you're there.
Huh.
Didn't solve anything. It just cost us a bit more money. Buy a whole bunch of fucking clickers, give it to the one motherfucker, and be like, "I'm sorry, Pamela. It's your week." It was always Pamela's week.
Poor Pamela.
I'm so sorry, Pamela.
Pamela's like, I
Other
just
than
want
that
to be
class, I
invited
used
to
to go to my
karaoke night.
classes. I used to make my classes as early as possible and do as many of the classes in one day as possible. 8, 9, 15, 10, 30
go.
classes.
I love
No
cracking out early ass tech.
Fucking way, dude. My classes all started after lunch, all of them, because I used to work nights at a restaurant. So and by nature of that, I would drink afterward, and so I'd be hungover every day.
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, the number of classes I went to with the baseball cap down and a cup of water from my house that I had poured and then walked to classes drinking and just sat there. I'm like, I'm dying. But you got out of the way, and then you got to do whatever you want in the afternoon. Take a nap, get on your feet, and go do something.
It's true.
Colin,
Yeah.
what's your topic?
I want to talk about, and I'm just going to throw it out there with a little bit of context and then see what you guys think of the question, and then I'll come to it if it's necessary at the end. I assume will be. Is America exceptional? And do you as an American consider yourself exceptional compared to the rest of the world? American exceptionalism is this very old idea. It comes from, Thomas Paine even wrote about it a little bit, not in those terms, but it really comes from like Alexis de Tocqueville and Democracy in America. The idea that like something exceptional happened in America, the reviving of republicanism and and that there's just a special something about the United States, and therefore it creates special people and special products. And special ideas in special ways. And so I'm just curious if any of you guys believe that, because it's a very controversial idea. American exceptionalism, if you pay attention to presidential politics, not so much this year, but in years past, this is a question that's asked about, like, do presidents, like did Obama and Romney believe that America is an exceptional place with exceptional people? Because it inherently puts the rest of the world down. So right. I'm interested to see what you guys think of that idea. I'll just leave it there.
Yes, I think America is exceptional. I don't think it's as exceptional maybe as we drum it up to be. And I think that might be one of the reasons then people are like, well, no, it's not, because America is really good at talking about how great America is. And when your friends do that, you're like, all right, shut up, dude. Or even your foes do it or whatever, you say that. But I think the history of the country is amazing. I think that the ability for us to go and do something like this is amazing. And I think that's part of being in America, part of the freedom, part of, for us, 30 years of hearing that bootstraps and you can do it and you can live your dream, and this is America is the land of opportunity and all these different things. I think that sure, some of that is just rah politics or rah nationalism, but I think there are examples like this, kind of funny in us doing a business like this, that granted it could have worked in France if we were French and we were doing this stuff, sure, probably, I don't know, but it's one of those that here there was never a doubt for that. There never was that thing. America always talks like it's the biggest swinging dick in the room, and it is. And that's not because of me. I didn't write the Constitution. I didn't fight in any wars. I didn't do any of this stuff, but it all plays into that same mindset of, yeah, we are American. Yeah, we are awesome. I think Newsroom, of course, that opening, right, is like the best, most honest attack on, no, you're not. You know what I mean? America's not exceptional.
Yeah. For people that have never seen that, you should look it up. Jeff Daniels' monologue at the beginning of the first episode of Newsroom is fantastic about. They ask about American exceptionalism, and he fucking destroys.
Why is America the greatest country on earth?
And he destroys the entire idea of why America is exceptional.
And he starts, quoting, of course, how we're so far behind in math and science and all these different things, and how the economy is fucked and all these different problems that America does have, but we ignore all the time when we say that we're the best country on the face of the earth and all these great, crazy things.
Well, that's always my question for you, Colin, is that, obviously Donald Trump is running on a platform of make America great again, right? What period do you think he's referring to of greatness for our dear
Reagan.
country here?
I would say
Reagan
post-war, probably Eisenhower through, or Truman and Eisenhower through Reagan and
but
Bush.
Isn't that sentiment a little bit false? right? Isn't that something that we can't really like? It's not defined. So
Right.
you say make America great again. Then my first question would be when the 80s or like late 40s, early 50s? Like what era of America are you striving to be? And
Yeah,
can
I
we
don't know
even
what
be
he
that
means.
anymore?
I can assume
think
what he means.
I don't think he means anything, right? I think honestly, it's just an inspirational.
It's like
line item.
Obama's hope. I mean,
Right,
it's the
hope.
same thing.
We're in such a dark time that the only ray of sunshine is the dark knight out there who can give us like, a ray of hope in the city that's being taken over by Bane.
Yeah.
Hope is interesting and hope for change. I think I get the sentiment, but at the same time, I find it a little, very disingenuous when he says making America great again, because I don't remember this country ever not being great. As far as,
But I think he's going back to the point.
As far as the opportunities that it has afforded me personally, and granted, I am in a certain strata of life. I'm a white male. I do have, I had great parents and a great upbringing. But I've always been sort of told that this is a place and this is a country where if you want to do something and you have the motivation to do it, chances are you can succeed.
Sure.
You will be afforded every opportunity if you go out there and fight for it.
Great for go-getters, yeah.
It is.
But I think to make America great again, not having followed Trump, I think as a businessman, it plays out perfectly and like what he means, right? He means about keeping companies in the United States, not having Monsanto go to Mexico and lose all these thousands of jobs, bring down unemployment, bring up the, get us out of debt. Sorry?
Carrier air
I was
conditioning.
going to say.
No, I'm talking about the people who do Oreos, Monsanto, when they left. But Carrier did as well.
Oh,
yes.
okay. I didn't know.
To stop
I didn't know about that. I thought Monsanto wasn't that. I didn't know.
Monsanto's the seed grower. They go to Mexico to get immigrants and bring them in the United States to actually as migrant workers.
Okay.
That's the last I heard of it. Sorry.
Cool.
I know there's
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's fine. But I mean, I'm talking the dozens of companies that you hear about who are bailing out. Yeah, and going out and to go somewhere else because this isn't a climate for them. And so you're losing jobs, or we lose jobs, unemployment, this, that, and the other.
But I mean, yes, as much as you want to say that, but I mean, I look at when I think, economy could be better. Corporations could be taxed less. Business wise, sure. I don't pretend to sit here and know whether or not we're in a good place. Socially, I think this is the best time to ever live in the United States in the history of our country. I don't think there's any possible way you could argue against that. And when you talk about making America great again, well, in the 80s, it wasn't that great for gay people. The 70s wasn't that great for women. 60s wasn't that great to be a minority.
Mondoles, my apologies.
I was going to say, yeah. So, I mean, I think when you start talking about that, you really have to break it down to yes, do we have problems? Of course we have problems. We're always going to have problems. In a country with 318 million people, we're going to have problems, right? We're going to have issues. We have corruption at the highest levels. We're well on our way probably for another economic collapse because we didn't learn anything from last time. But at the same time, gay marriage is legal. Weed's on its way to being legal, those are two awesome things right there. We live in a country where women are afforded all of the rights that men are, which is not the same in the rest of the world. Certainly not the same in specific Middle Eastern countries. Are we better or worse off than European countries? I don't know. That's a matter of your personal preference for how you want to live your life or the specific circumstances in which you want to live. I think we are, and I think it's very telling that we are still, to this day, the country that everyone is fighting to get into. Now, whether or not they're fighting to get into it because of a certain ideal that we represent is very debatable.
Yeah.
Because in practicality, we're not that great overall. But I still stand by the fact that we are afforded way more freedoms than anyone else in the rest of the world. And this is a place where you can be the person you want to be.
I think the ideal is the important part. So it's like, are we exceptional and like make America great again? I think all that is just saying that we want to be exceptional. That is the goal, and that is what we believe we are, or at least what we are in theory. And I think that make America great again, it's like we could be better. You know what I mean? I feel like that it's all a positive thing overall of what America stands for, and it is the idea that if you don't have that ideal, then what are you? If you don't believe in yourself, why would anyone else believe in you? And I think that at least the starting point of I believe in America,
right?
Like I believe in America, I believe in America. Then it's like, all right, cool. We can at least agree to believe in this and try to make it the thing that we want it to be. And I feel like a lot of the other places are a bit more splintered and a bit more, just. They are looking at wanting to leave where they are and go somewhere else. Whereas here, it's a bit more like, all right, how do we fix where we're at? We're good. How do we make this better?
I think another part of it too, and Colin, I'll need you to help probably rein me in a little bit on my facts, make sure I don't misspeak on some of the stuff. But for the fact of, I think that yes, America is exceptional, and there are many Americans who are as well. But I think that that was not universally, but across the country, I think you'd find people who say, yeah, America's exceptional, but maybe that person themselves is not living an exceptional life. However, with the fact of America being so big and having so many people in it, I think we afford ourselves the opportunity that there are, per capita, you'd say, more exceptional people we're starting this crazy business and we're internet famous or whatever, and then there's movie stars, and then there's this, then there's that. Whereas when you get to a smaller country, a Britain, a France or whatever, there's people who break out, there's exceptional people that come from that place, but because of a smaller population, because of there's the same idea of people there who are living non-exceptional lives, then they have these breakout people who go do it, but they aren't
Britain
sitting
has
there.
10 actors in every single show.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, if you become an actor in Britain, you're in everything.
If you're a British actor who can do an amazing American accent, you come to Hollywood.
Not
you're
even
gonna
that.
work.
No, like
You're
what's
gonna work.
Professor McGonagall? Any British movie you see
in
her
it.
show,
Maggie
she's
Smith.
going to be there.
She's
She's
awesome.
going to be in this thing. But then you get to, okay, so then why for a bigger country or countries that are bigger than us, like China, why aren't we seeing more people there? And it's like, well, they've had years of this regime or whatever. Same thing with Russia, where it's like be a standout, be exceptional, celebrate who you are, do something amazing isn't what they were being promoted, what they wanted to believe, what they were getting from birth, what they were celebrating on the holidays where, you know what I mean? In America, it's all about America, and we're all decked out in red, white, and blue, and we're all, 4th of July, obviously. We were doing all these different things.
Just always.
Yeah, just all the time. We're all dressed like Macho Man at fucking WrestleMania.
I would do that if you would.
Totally, I'm in. But then you get to anywhere else, and it's like, I feel like when you see a military parade in Russia or whatever, right, and it's about uniformity, it's about conformity, it's not about being standout.
Yeah, see, I would disagree with you just in that I don't look at this country as exceptional in the definition that you just defined it as, right? Which is this like sort of like we are a country full of like chosen people that are above a cut above everyone else in the world. I don't look at it like that, because we certainly aren't when it comes to our healthcare. We certainly aren't when it comes to our obesity rates. We certainly aren't when it comes to any number of things.
Tolerance.
Our education, like you already mentioned. But I do think there is something important and powerful about the ideal of what we are supposed to stand for that does inspire people that are in those other areas of the world, that are in China, that are in North Korea, that are in areas of the world that don't have the freedoms that we're allowed. That is important. It's probably the most important thing, right? Having there be some beacon of hope out there for people to say, like, look, you can come here and live and be the person you want to be, I think is what America, to me, is most important for, is what America stands for, and is why I'm proud to be an American. Again, we are about to elect Donald Trump as our president, so we do have some fucked up issues that we have to sort out in this country. Kevin just shook his head no, but
We'll see.
It's a possibility, Kevin. But you know, I don't necessarily buy into the rhetoric that we are exceptional. America is the best country in the world. I think we're better at some things than and worse than on other things. But I do think that I think we are a symbol to a lot of people out there, and I think that is something that we should always keep in mind.
I think we are a symbol because we believe that we're exceptional.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
Because we say we are. It's really
Well,
all
because
it
you
is
say
is
you
tell
can be
people,
exceptional
walk
when
the
you
walk
come
and
here,
talk the
right?
Talk. Exactly.
Yeah,
And I
and
think
that's not to say that people in Britain or people in France or people in Italy don't have amazingly exceptional people, because they do. I mean, you can't discredit that. Look at the freaking soccer leagues, for Christ's sake. We couldn't win a World Cup here for fucking, well, our women's team can, but we couldn't win a World Cup here if our life depended on it.
We're gonna get it.
Yeah, 40, 50 years from now, maybe.
when we take all of them, one by one.
When we get Britain back, we're like, Britain, we're coming back to you. We're getting revenge. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
The Brenter.
Colin, are we exceptional?
And on an individual basis, no. But it is the egalitarian nature of the United States that makes it exceptional.
Good word.
And there's no country like it in the world. Now,
I'm going to incorporate that. Every time you use a big word like that, lock it back here.
we are egalitarian, right? Like we really do believe fundamentally, at least
fuck
in
does that mean?
It means that everyone's the same. Everyone's equal.
Everyone's created
There's like total equality. That is the principle of the founding. Now, there's, you know, if you read Gordon Wood or read Howard Zinn or something like that, there's a lot of flaws in that. The founders were all rich men. They were plantation owners. They were slave owners. All that kind of stuff. We have scars, deep scars in the United States, in terms of racial and economic divides. What I think makes us exceptional is not only the egalitarianism, but also the melting pot nature of the United States. We actually attract go-getters and the best of the best in a lot of ways. Now, do we do that anymore? I don't know, but we definitely did back in the day, because people first were running away from religious tyranny, and then they came because they wanted a better life. And so, like, if you left, like, my family left Ireland, the Moriartys left Ireland, at least that segment of the Moriartys left Ireland in the late 1850s, and came to the United States for opportunity. They weren't getting opportunity in Ireland. They looked for opportunity here. They got off the boat. My great grandfather, whatever, got off the boat and signed his life over to the Union Army, to fight in the Civil War by 1860, 1861, having no association with the United States. And just knowing what it meant and knowing that he would get his citizenship and be allowed to stay if he fought for the Union and they won, and we did. And you're just not seeing that kind of shit anywhere else in the world, really. People are we're literally dying to come to the United States. And I'm a patriot and I'm proud to be an American. I'm immensely proud. I wrote about it on July 4th that I will be proud until the day I fucking die that I'm an American, and I believe in this country and I believe what it stands for. It's not in us individually. It's us in us collectively, I think, and in our system. We revived small R Republican representative government that the rest of the world copied. And you can't, just like we copied the old style that was dormant and dead for 1,500 years, we did that. Our founders.
Who was the last one?
The Romans, so it's like we revived that. Revolutions that were fought after that, like the French Revolution, were entirely inspired by what we did here. They were way out of fucking control over there. It was a super violent, Robespierre and the guillotine, all that kind of shit. But they were directly and overtly inspired by Thomas Jefferson. They made that clear. Thomas Jefferson was a hero to them.
He lived in France for a really long time.
Yeah, right? Him and Adams both lived over there for a long time because they were, we wanted to get the French into the war, and they spent, and Franklin too spent an immense amount of time in France.
Great Nick Nolte movie. Was it Jefferson in Paris? I think is what it was called.
No, I never
saw it. It looked terrible.
But
like most Nick Nolte movies.
But to me, like the system develops. The system itself, if you study American history, was tumultuous. Like the Treaty of Paris was signed in 1783. We actually, a lot of people don't know or didn't realize we had an original Constitution, the Articles of Confederation that we lived under for a few years, and then we got rid of it. Then we had the Constitution ratified 1787, 88, 89, went through the states. We fought our first war against the French, the Quasi-War, and we fought in Algiers and all these places against the Barbary pirates. And then we fought the War of 1812. Then we had a period of peace from 1815 to 1865, generally, where things really started to develop, right? And so we had this time to figure things out. This is when we were like, do we have a divine right to this country? And I don't think we do, but people like James Monroe asked, with the Monroe Doctrine, couldn't we just take it all? And we did, don't we have a right to just go all the way to the Pacific and take all of it?
Manifest
and we did do that. Then we fought a bloody war, and we've been involved in a lot of different wars in the United States, but the war we fought with ourselves was the bloodiest war we ever fought. I think something like 4 or 5% of maybe even a little higher than that, of men aged 16 to 50 or whatever died in that war. It's insane. The amount of people died in the Civil War of us fighting each other over an old institution. And we have scars of racism and all these kinds of things. And we have panics and busts and all these kinds of things that are totally antithetical to stability. Yet in the United States, we also developed much of the world's technology. We developed much of the world's entertainment. We developed much of the world's culture and stuff like that. And there's something to be said about that. So I don't and these things are all developed here. And when you look at when you look at the world and what powers the world, and this is one of the things I was saying on July 4th, it's just strange to me that a lot of it's American. We are 4% of the world's population. Google, American. Apple, American. Microsoft, American. Tesla, American. The future of cars. SpaceX, the future of space exploration, American. The interesting thing about Tesla and SpaceX, founded by a guy from South Africa who intentionally came to the United States and is one of the people that is it can only happen here.
And I think that's the big point, is that I feel like what America is generally is everywhere else coming here to do something. And I think that there's an obvious reason for that. When you look at people that are motivated, it's them that are doing things. It's not the people that are just I'm here, so whatever. And when you could be born somewhere else and just stay there, and that's fine. But if you're born somewhere else and I'm going to go here to do this, you're doing something.
Yeah,
so
you're already motivated.
They're already
a
step above so many other people. So, and I feel like it also could work the other way of if there were Americans going to other places, they're exceptional people too. I think that if you have a plan and a goal and you're getting off your ass and doing it, I think that's the most important part. And I just think because of the symbol and what America stands for, there is a lot of people coming here to do something. So for them to take that step already, that means that they're a step above everyone else because they are taking a step. You're going to win the race if you're the only one moving, Right, exactly. I think you're absolutely right. And so it's not, so to me, it's I look around and I just look for the evidence, right? That America is in some way exceptional at a systemic level or in terms of a societal level. And I think the obvious answer in that case is obviously yes.
people are literally still falling themselves. After 240 years later, people are still falling over themselves by the millions to get into this country. That's not happening anywhere else. No offense, no one's falling over themselves to get to Russia or China. You know, no one's falling over themselves to get into India. No one's falling over themselves to get into getting a lot of places in Europe. You know, like it's like it's not us. It's the place. You know, it's not even the government. It's the system. It's like the like you can make billions or you can eat shit. And we really don't know like what's going to happen when you try, but you can try here.
There's something
and I think that's exceptional.
Here.
Yeah. And so like, when I say that with great deference to the rest of the world, like we are pieces of Germany and England and China and Japan and Russia and all that. We are absolutely all pieces of these places. And so the ironic thing about the United States is that it just wouldn't be what it is without the rest of the world. Yet I also think that the rest of the world would not even be remotely what it is without the United States. And I'm not only talking about in literal ways. I mean, you only need to look around you for 1 second to see what America gave you. But like, you look at it just in terms of like the spirit of the United States, I think is contagious. And so I think that like America is exceptional. I don't think Americans are exceptional. I think I think within these borders, something special happens. And it's not because we're in within these borders. It's because like there's a magic here that allows chances to be taken and all those kinds of things. And I just don't think you can look at it as coincidence that the world's biggest economy is in the United States. The most purchasing power is in the United States. The most important market for everyone to sell their goods is in the United States. And like all of the like technology that you use and all like, or much of the technology, a lot of the medicine, something like 64 of the top 100 universities in the world are American, you know? I was reading something we were talking about. I think we talked about it on another show. Like something like 60% of the top 100 hospitals are American. We're talking about this with education and medical systems that are way below European standards because there still is something about it here, you know? So like, I think that the thing is that like, I don't look at it in an arrogant way. I look at it as like an aspirational way. Like I want the world to benefit from us and I want to benefit from the other things that people around the world are giving us as well. The thing that bothers me is like the rampant anti-Americanism that happens, like where everyone hates us or thinks like that. And I'm like, dude, like, no offense, but you're typing that on your iPhone using Twitter. You know what I mean? Like on an internet created by the Department of Defense. You know? So like to me it's and again a lot of people get confused. The World Wide Web was created in Europe. The internet was not. So like to me it's like, you know, we've given the world a lot and I'm proud of that. But again, we are regressive and have much to learn as well. And that's one of the things I wrote in my message on July 4th that I wrote on Facebook was like, we have much to learn. We are lagging far behind in many fundamental ways. And I do believe, to Donald Trump's point, in a way, I disagree with much of what he says, but I do think we are a country in decline. And I do think that we are letting it happen. And we are burning very brightly. This country is only 240 years old. And a lot of people look at us and be like, well, you guys are so young and so inexperienced. I'm like, for someone so young and so inexperienced, we certainly did do everything for the world in a very short amount of time, didn't we? You know? But like we have to make sure we don't burn out quickly. We have to continue to learn from the rest of the world. We have to continue to let the best and brightest from around the world come in here and found these new companies and help us make ourselves better. But I do think that only happens in a place like the United States. And I'm super proud of it. I'm super proud to be an American. And I'm super proud that what we export to the world is our culture. What we export to the world is our music and our movies and our television shows.
Our Yankee Blue Jeans.
And our technology and our tech companies and all these kinds of things. I'm super fucking proud of that. You know? And do I think I had anything to do with that? No. But I think that like the Moriarty's here for generations that helped fight for those things and fight for the system certainly did.
And I think that is another key thing. Like what I was saying earlier about the people that are trying to come here are the ones most motivated. So of course they're going to do something because they're working to get this chance. I think that, you know, we are all people here where we have met and interacted with the people that first came here. And I think that as generations go on, like the brightness might go down in the sense that like my kids are going to have no idea how my family got here. You know what I mean? I met my grandma who came here from Ireland. I know her. You know what I mean? So it's like I have that since I've heard the stories from my mom about how horrible all that shit was. And that's crazy, you know? So like that definitely in some subconscious way motivates me to be who I am and take advantage of what I'm given. I've never really thought about it in that way, but that's the truth. You know, I see other people and it's like, I know so many people that had to fight to get here and to fight to have their opportunities here. And like, they're working harder than anybody else, you know?
Sure.
And I feel like that's why we need to keep letting people in, to keep reinvigorating that drive and need and want and desire to do better, to do something new, to make things better for them and their families. And that's where are we excellent as individuals? No. But I think that we need to keep letting excellent individuals in to at least maintain the overall standard to make the general we better.
Yeah, absolutely
Well
agree.
said, Tim.
I absolutely agree. I think that it's very well put. Yeah, so I think that like I don't stand next to a person from Germany or a person from Iceland or wherever and be like, I'm fundamentally better than you. Of course I'm not. Of course I'm not. I'm very egalitarian in that way as well. But I think I look at the system, I look at the country, and I put it next to another system or another country, and I'm like, well, the evidence is somewhat obvious, right? Like that we're doing something right here, and I'm super proud of that. But we also have much to learn from the rest of the world, and I do sometimes get upset that the fingers pointed at us about all the things we do wrong could probably be pointed right back inward on them about the things they forget that we did for them. And I'm not talking about World War II and all that kind of, I don't care about any of that stuff. I'm talking about like the way America has enriched your lives in so many different ways.
In sync
Was paramount among and at the apex of that.
That's
of
the
triangle.
number one example right there.
So I think that there's much to be proud of in that sense, and I think that I agree with you. Like, what's so great about America is that it is a global community. It always has been. We are not an insular community. We never have been since antebellum America. Have we ever really been insular? People have always been coming over here. The Germans came over here. Like, people forget. Like, everyone's looking at like, well, look at the Central and South Americans coming over here, and I'm like, dude, that's just the next wave of the waves and waves and waves of people from around the world that came here. It's just the Chinese coming over here to build the railroads. The Japanese coming over at the turn of the 19th or turn of the 20th century. The Germans coming over, Quakers, Puritans, like everyone. A lot of free Africans coming over in the 1600s. That didn't last very long, unfortunately, in our system. But like there was like a lot. There's always been an amalgamation and a hodgepodge and a potpourri of fucking people. That's what makes America great. That's what gives us, and that's what gives us our prestige and power. But I do think it's very much in decline, and I think it's very much in danger.
I want to save that topic for later because I think that's a good topic about if America is declining.
Sure.
Thought-provoking topic, Colin. Good job.
Thank you.
I think I got you beat, though. Broccoli. Woo! This shit's good. Now, I want to talk about broccoli, Nick.
I'm going to tell you what.
The number one vegetable.
Yeah.
Go.
Broccoli. Great in an egg scramble.
Yeah, no, that's what I put broccoli in every one of my omelets I'm making out there.
Just realized that about a month ago. I get out for breakfast and I was like, I'm trying to get some good protein, some good fats in my body, right? So I usually make like a cage-free, free-range omelet with some flaxseed oil instead of normal that spray on shit they normally use.
Oh, you don't use flaxseed oil. Of course, you don't use butter. You use
no, I can use butter too, but I have to get the right kind of butter. And I just don't feel like that's too lazy. I don't want to do the research.
Sure.
So my wife has this flaxseed oil that she buys for her smoothies. It's fantastic. It's got lots of it. It's got a great ratio of omega-1s to omega-3s. Phenomenal. Throw that in there. However, I'm like, there's one thing missing from here. I'll put some diced onions in it. Yeah. Maybe a little bit of turkey in it too if I have some left over. But I'm like, there's no greens in here. There's no veggies really in here.
Yeah.
And all I had was this organic broccoli, and I'm like, this is gonna go bad soon because of course it's organic, which means it only lasts about
Clock's
a day
ticking.
and a half,
Clock's ticking as soon as you leave the I was gonna say restaurant, but the grocery store.
I'm gonna go ahead and just see. And I threw it in there and I sauteed it first before I put the eggs in because I always saute everything together so it cooks down a little bit and it's a little more malleable.
Interesting.
And then I throw the eggs in and scramble it up. Like I crack my eggs in there. I don't bother tossing.
So you're not doing not a full on omelet. You're doing
I don't do an omelet. I do scramble.
Okay,
So it's like I put the eggs in there. Hope to God. There's always like the problem with the organic shells is that they're softer. So when you crack them, they all just go in. Doesn't matter. It's good fiber, I guess. Either that or it's cutting me up on the inside and probably gonna kill me. Get that in there. Boom. You got that broccoli. Maybe put a little bit of avocado on top. Maybe a little bit of the salsa. You're ready to rock and roll. That's a great morning right there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Are you hungry an hour and a half later?
No.
Yes.
Really?
No. You're not that hungry.
You got to load up on these almonds. Get more broccoli in there. The number one vegetable. Broccoli. This shit's good.
I discovered it late in life that I liked broccoli though.
Yeah.
For the longest time, well, as a child, for the longest time, I had an aversion to anything that wasn't Twinkies.
Sure.
So, or didn't pair well with a movie, right? You don't think I'm watching the 1989 Batman for the 1000th time. I'm gonna get some broccoli. I'm gonna get a big bowl of broccoli right now. That'd be really good. No, it was like popcorn, Coke, Snickers bars, Twix, and then top it all off with a couple Twizzlers maybe, or a Twinkie, two to three Twinkies. Maybe what are those hockey pucks called?
York peppermint patties.
No, the ding dongs. No, ho-hos.
Ding dong. Ho-hos are the ones that are the rolls.
Ding dongs
are the pucks.
I used to fucking love the ding dongs.
Sure you did.
I would snort those things if you let me.
That's not how you eat them. That's a bad way to eat them.
Colin, I love you so much.
Tim, where do you come down on broccoli?
I love broccoli.
Yes.
Broccoli for me is one of those things growing up, everyone always, broccoli's the easy punchline, right? Kids don't like the broccoli. Like broccoli's gross.
Put some cheddar cheese on
like if you don't do this, you're gonna have to eat broccoli for dinner. And I never understood it growing up. I'm like,
give me that shit.
What's so bad about that? Broccoli is the homie for sure.
Right.
Always been a fan. Always been a huge fan of it with any cheese on it. Oh, that just takes it from I'm a fan to fucking shove
You're
that
in there?
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, see, yeah, that's the thing. Is that's you can do so much with broccoli. You can eat it raw. You can just eat it how it is. You can put in this. You can put cheese on it. I've never been a fan. I've
been a fan.
I didn't get raised on the cheesed broccoli, so that was never my thing. I agree, it tastes fine. It's good, but I do the saute in there with some garlic and some pepper and salt. There you go.
My God. I mean, so the reason that I knew that when I fell in love with broccoli was going to the fine restaurants like Panda Express.
Of course, yes.
Or the
broccoli beef,
rice garden.
broccoli
rice
chicken
garden was what it was called, and at the Lucky's near my high school where we would frequent for lunch.
Yeah, Michelin star.
They
just got a Michelin star.
broccoli beef. I was just like, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
Just like, I didn't even need the beef necessarily. I ate the beef, don't worry. But the beef just kind of like flavoring the broccoli. Whew.
That's the thing is that the broccoli can be into your cheddar cheese sauce stuff, a conduit for so many things. I like it with my wings because then I can drag it through there.
Man.
Get all that in there.
This is what I'm telling you guys. You don't like broccoli. You
Who's saying that?
You got to get into
stupid enough to say
broccoli
that?
for one reason only. It's like nature's chip. You can take it and you can dip it in anything, and you're probably getting more coverage than a normal chip.
Oh,
because
yeah.
it's like it's multifaceted.
Yes.
There's prongs everywhere that can grab onto hummus.
Yes, hummus is great.
They can grab onto any sort of like blue cheese dip, any bacon dip. Oh my God, it's fantastic.
Now, I got to say, broccoli isn't perfect. I'm sorry, Greg.
Guacamole.
It's not. Because what you're saying is right, where it does get more surface, but because of its shape, naturally, it has the problem of bad chips. You know how tortilla chips, there's the good ones where you're like, man, I can dip, I'm going to get such a nice spread, and then I get to put that thing in my mouth, and it'll make sense. But then there's some that are shaped weird, so it's like, I have to bite this end first. And it's
stabs in your
it's
mouth.
more of a two-parter. Yeah,
Sure.
there's the stabbing going on. Broccoli has that problem because of its tree-like shape, where it's hard to get all sides of it because some broccoli is quite large.
Yeah, well, yeah, but you just gotta. I mean, you can first off cut it up, or secondly, just be a man and break it
apart.
Just break it in two.
You can't
got multiple. You can't
making
break
a
chips
mistake
up in a
on the
million.
onset, right? Where you can't let the bowl go out to the guests like that. You got to break it apart before as you're preparing it.
You can't just walk in and drop the florets
Yeah, you can't
down.
just have just a big head of broccoli.
I mean,
You can't do that.
I'm not talking about the big bush.
No, you get
You know what I mean? I'm not a fucking monster.
You do what people do when they get a big bush, right? You got to carve it down into a more manageable size so that the people that are about to eat it can enjoy it. Mm-hmm. Okay,
I get it.
And it goes great dry. It goes great wet. It goes great whatever you want to put on top
It
of
just
it or
soaks
anything
in all
inside
the
of it.
juices?
Fantastic, right? But it has to be manageable. Mm-hmm. Has to be manageable.
I feel like you're making. I think you're
I get
making
that,
light
but
of my
even
broccoli
but that's my
topic.
problem is even the manageable chunks of it still have that kind of 360 bushel shape going on.
Sure, but if you
know?
break it down small enough, you just put the whole thing in your mouth. You're fine.
Yeah, no, I get it.
You got to
but-
practice putting the whole thing in your mouth, Tim, or else you're
I
not
don't
going to get
need
anywhere. in
practice.
You got to
life.
get the
I'm
head of the
pretty good
broccoli in your mouth. Get the
I'll
head
try
in
to
your
swallow.
mouth.
The problem is when you have the shaft left over, and that you don't want to put that. in your mouth.
I don't like.
I'm a big Shaft fan.
A lot of
huge
people
Shaft fan?
aren't Shaft fans, and that pisses me off because I love a good Shaft.
You got to flip the shaft over and lick it from the other side though, because you can't double dip the shaft. That's the problem. Is you've already eaten off it. Your saliva's hit that point, so you got to flip it over.
I don't play that
dip it
bullshit.
back in the wetness, and then shove it down your fucking throat.
I'm a double dipper. I don't really play by those rules.
Now here's something, if I can get us back on track about broccoli here. All right.
Oh, because we went so off track.
You're using your double entendres here.
I meant
There's
every
some
single
innuendo.
thing I said.
What I
both
know,
ways.
I know.
Dare you?
As a comic book fan, what I love about broccoli is the fact that it has a natural antagonist in cauliflower.
No, they're
because
friends.
cauliflower is such a knockoff broccoli, and you see that they are not fans. One or not friends. One is more popular than the other.
I like cauliflower better than broccoli.
That's fucking bullshit.
But broccoli is better for you, so it gets the nod from me.
Why is it? I didn't know it's better. Why is it better for
I
you?
just
more
for
nutrients.
my diet specifically, it has less carbs and it's got more fiber, I believe.
Okay.
And it's got more minerals in it.
Here's my thing. I agree with you.
Yeah,
You're right.
It's
I
cool.
I
you
do
see them when
kind of
they're in the little
enjoy-
tray together. You're like, oh shit,
No,
it's
some
going
shit's
down.
But I think
not
that
going down.
it's a
It's a
high quality
beautiful
villain.
marriage.
We're not cauliflower is not like the shocker of the universe. You know what I mean?
No.
It's also not like the Green Goblin. It's somewhere in between. It's like
Mysterio?
It's like no Mysterio. I
Rhino.
think it's maybe like Kraven the Hunter. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Okay.
You gotta respect him.
Yeah.
Right. He's not there all the time, but when he is, you usually enjoy what happens, and that's cauliflower to me because again, you bring the cheese in there. Ooh.
Well, cauliflower gets a shout out.
I could eat broccoli for days.
Cauliflower gets a
is a limited thing.
Yeah, exactly, because it's not as good. That's the whole point. But there are a lot of places are doing buffalo cauliflower now. Anyways, back to you.
I'm gonna throw this out at you because sometimes I'm forced to get the packet from Trader Joe's that has the cauliflower, the broccoli, and the carrots in it. That is bullshit. You can't throw those three together. Carrots, you buy separately. Carrots are its own thing. And here's why. Because by the time you get to the carrot, it's covered in the little things of the little leaves of the broccoli and the cauliflower, and you can't separate it ever. And then it's going everywhere. Every time you try to dip it places, it's on your hand, it's in your shirt.
Eat the carrots first.
You can't because you got to dig through them. You have to dig through the bag, and it's just dirty. I'm just saying, keep the carrots separate. The carrots should have their own little container and bag that they stay in. Keep them separate from the cauliflower and broccoli. Just keep them separate.
I love carrots.
Colin, where do you come
I
to
love
broccoli?
carrots too.
What's your broccoli thought?
I've always liked broccoli. I've always been fine with broccoli. Are there better green vegetables? Yes, of course. But I can name you many.
No.
Sure, Brussels sprouts are the dominant green.
Now, as a quick side note, I think we've talked about veggies at length before. You said Brussels sprouts raw into the steak. Growing up, everybody's like Brussels sprouts are gross.
Amazing.
They were put in the cartoons and the things that they were gross, and I was like, and then you started eating them as an adult. Like you said, I was stupid. Cartoons were stupid.
Brussels sprouts are fucking dominant. Like the things that the geniuses, these culinary geniuses that have come up with all we talked about on Colin Greg Live today. They come up with all sorts of ways to serve you these Brussels sprouts. Always good.
There's a
Parmesan
problem,
cheese, lemon.
Brussels sprouts take work. Is the one
they
thing.
take work, and it's also, I think it's too much. It is the best. I think that by far Brussels sprouts are the leaders. But the problem is you can't get too much of it. Like broccoli, you can have forever. Broccoli is the normal Spider-Man. I feel like Brussels sprouts is the black suit Spider-Man, which everybody thinks they want all the time, but then it's overdone so easily because once you get maybe like 20 issues, you're done. 6-episode run. I'm over this. I'm fucking over this.
Right.
That's Brussels sprouts.
Broccoli is the working man's vegetable. Brussels sprouts for the ivory tower folk. And I enjoy going up there and having exactly. Yeah. But the broccoli, as you know, being a history major, it's been around the world forever, and migrant farm workers they have it in their bags and they eat it as they work. As they pick the apples, they'd be eating the broccoli.
That's what I've heard. I think other good green vegetables, asparagus, give a huge shout out to asparagus.
It's good. It's no broccoli.
Spinach, fantastic. Kale, fantastic. I'd eat all of those over broccoli. That said, like
kale?
You got crazy shit with kale. You
gotta have
so much
kale
shit with
prepared
kale.
right. Like
so much work.
There's a place by me called Light Bite that does an amazing kale salad.
Light Bite?
Light Bite.
Light Bite.
It does like.
Of course you go there.
It's like
all the places in your neighborhood. You go there.
Of course, I'll have to.
Come on.
Of course I do. It's
I know your neighborhood now intimately.
Light Bite, great. They pair a little apple with it, some sunflower seeds, and a light dressing. It's fantastic. But you have to prepare the kale properly, apparently, which means I think you have to massage it or something like that. You have to work it in so it's not like crazy.
I did this thing where I just took a bunch of kale, cut it down, put olive oil, salt, pepper, and a little bit of garlic in it, mix it, and then put it on a pan. Mm-hmm. Put it in the oven at 400 degrees, like right at the right time. You take it out, and it's all crunchy. Like you can and it's got like great. It's got a lot of volume. Oh my god, dude! It's the same way I like Brussels sprouts. But nonetheless, in terms of broccoli, I think broccoli's fine. Like I think broccoli's a totally fine vegetable. I think it's tasty and it works well in a salad. It works well in a scramble. It works well on a pizza. It
does work awesome on pizza.
It's a very versatile vegetable. I do think an underappreciated vegetable. And I am a liker of almost every vegetable. So it's. Are there vegetables that are, of course, like, when we're talking about the superior vegetable family, you got to talk about the onion, the garlic, the shallot, all that kind of stuff. But when you get away from all of that, and
no migrant workers eating an onion out in the field.
Garlic's
a great one.
Just non.
Yeah, exactly.
So shout out to broccoli. I mean, I respect and appreciate it.
In terms of
broccoli,
shout outs,
this shit's good.
Yes, I want to give a shout out to its cousin, sister, maybe. I'm not really sure. Broccolini.
Oh,
yeah, dude.
I never had it until recently. Gia brought it into my life. She's like, we should get some broccolini, and I'm like, I'm a broccoli fan. Is this going to insult me?
Yeah,
because broccolini doesn't sound like something I want. That sounds like something Nick would want.
Yeah,
the light bite shit, right? But it came, and I'm like, you know what? This is kind of hot. Like I'm kind of into this broccolini thing.
Dude, you cook broccolini with a little bit of garlic and olive oil. It's so tender. Quick shout out to the bastard child of broccoli Rob.
Yeah.
Now,
what is the difference?
Now, broccoli
is that?
Now, broccoli Rob, you have to really prepare, but like once you get you have to boil it, get all this bitter shit out. But once you do that, man, you get it in a pan with some fucking pepper flakes.
It's a leafy vegetable.
Oh my god, it's so fucking good, dude, and it's really good for you. I bet you. My dad's like mostly a vegetarian, and he eats the shit out of that. I bet. Like broccoli Rob, Swiss chard, like all that kind of. He like subsists on that. He loves
broccoli Rob. I don't think I've ever had this.
They have it at Delfina. Not Delfina, excuse me, Del Rosa. They serve a broccoli Rob.
I love Della Rosa. The broccoli Rob. No, that's broccolini.
Is that broccolini?
Yeah,
they have a Swiss chard. I know that. One of them has a Swiss chard.
I spend way too much money at Della Rosa.
That's because it's really good.
Way too much money.
For everyone at home that didn't know what broccoli Rob is and is trying to Google it, it's RABE. It's not ROB. So
that's awesome. That's awesome that you thought it was broccoli Rob. In honor of broccoli, this shit's good. I wanted to do something that's been much requested by the fans and revise my favorite food list that has been the same for quite some time. As you all remember, I know, the original ranking was, of course, number 1 wings, number 2 pizza, number 3 bagels, number 4 broccoli, number 5 sushi.
It's a terrible list.
It's an
I
amazing
want to
list.
hear your revised list because that's a terrible list.
The revised list now is wings, pizza, broccoli moving up from 4 to 3, broccoli moving up, yogurt parfaits. Last time I talked about this, you'll remember I said yogurt parfaits knocking on the door of sushi, knocking on the door of sushi, and then rounding out at 5 now is just Japanese food.
All right,
I feel like I can put the sushi and the ramen in there.
Nope,
and
sorry,
I get
can't
it.
do
High
that.
five.
Thank
Thank you.
I want to tell you right now that list categorically sucks. Just letting you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Game Over Greggy Show. Each and every week, 4, sometimes 5 best friends gather on this table. Each bring a random topic of conversation for you. If you like that, head over to patreon.com/kindafunny, where you can toss us a few bucks, get every episode early, get some cool perks, and see us all the time. If you don't have any bucks to toss, no big deal. Head over to youtube.com/kindafunny, where we post the entire show, topic by topic, day by day, until it goes up as one big MP3. Until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.